All right, we're going to go live on YouTube here, my friend. Hold on. Hey, everybody on YouTube. We are kicking things off right now as it's a brand new week here on the Mighty SOR. And you know what? After having an audio screw up a couple of weeks ago, we're very thankful that Darryl Anka has come back on, and we'll be talking about channeling Bashar tonight, and we're going to have a good time with him. We are just a few minutes away from kicking off tonight's show, so thank you so much for coming on in early. Let's give a shout out to everybody in our chat room so far. Cat Chaser, thank you for coming on in. Jules, you're looking gorgeous. Bee's Nest, always a pleasure. Cashew and Brett Lewis, you know we can't start a show without Brett Lewis here, everyone, and there he is, so I guess we could start. Jurassic Joey, good to see you here. Roscoe, thanks for coming on in. Go66, good to see you this week. Becky Belling, she is looking beautiful tonight. Evolved Human, thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you. Tantalizing Tammy, always a pleasure. And who else do we got? Mere Person, you're looking merely awesome tonight. Vintage Beard, good to have you here. Lord Ward, always a pleasure. Tina, thank you for coming on in, beautiful, and we appreciate that. The lovely and talented Teresa is here, everyone. Let's give her a round of applause. What the heck? What the hell? What's going on? Chris Jarvis, good to see you here. Steam Train Mark, how's tomorrow looking in Australia since you live in the future? Can you tell me if I am alive? I would appreciate to know if I make it to tomorrow. Millennium, good to see you here, my friend. The Jim Christie is here, everyone. Yes, Gary the Spudger is here. Never mess with a Spudger. Annie, you're looking amazing. Bigfoot or Big Rob, good to have you here. Human Carl's here, everyone. Human Carl is here, which means that this is not Alien Carl in the chat room. It's Human Carl, one of our favorite veterans that listens to this show. We love you, Human Carl. Thank you for your service. Dick Daigle's here, everyone. The former first overall pick in the NHL draft in 1993. Dick Daigle. No, do not call him a bust. That will hurt his feelings. Stu Gerson. Right there, buddy. You know what that means. Thank you so much for coming in. I love it when you're here. And who else do we got? Davin in Vietnam. Good to have you here. Thank you for coming on in. Devin, good to see you here. Greco, how's the baklava? Let us know. Lil Cam, thank you for coming on in. I think we're caught up. Oh, there's Corinth, the booking guy, everyone. Fapster and Grandma Rose. Much love to Grandma Rose, our favorite listener of all time, 96 years old, and I'm going to send you my beard very soon here. Going to send you my beard. Lufon, good to see you as well. Thank you for coming on in. I think I'm caught up, Daryl. I think I am caught up. We are packed right up already, and the show hasn't even begun. Hi, Barther L.
Awesome.
And the Third Nipple crew. Good to have you here. All right. Yeah, I'm waiting for my wife to get back from Tim Hortons. I have an ice cap coming. How Canadian is that? There you
Totally.
Go. When's the last time you had an ice cap or anything from Tim Hortons?
I think never.
Oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. All right. Hey, Marky Mark, how you doing, buddy? Can't wait to go ATVing with you on Sunday. Random guy, appreciate you for coming on in. Deepak from India, welcome, man. Thank you for coming on in and listening in from India. That's wonderful. I love it when I find out where people are listening, Daryl. It's just one of my biggest thrills is when we see how many country or people from different countries we can get in here.
I know, that's fantastic.
I think one night we had 11 or 12 different countries in the chat room.
You are the United Nations on the radio.
Oh, no, it was awesome, man. It was, where the hell did my mouse go? Seriously. Oh, there it is. All right. Bill WD-40's here, everyone. Bill WD-40 is going to lube it up for us so we can slide right into this show. All right. Who else do we got? Jen, you're looking stunning tonight. Absolutely stunning. All right. And Oob to Joe's Main, you've got aliens. And do I need an air conditioner? No, it's getting cold here at night again, down to single digits. Yes, the tundra is starting to get a little cool up here.
I'm jealous.
Oh, yeah. When's the last time you saw snow in the wintertime, Daryl?
I can't even remember.
Oh, yeah, you're due.
Years and years.
All right, music is on, my friends. The intro is sounded. Bumblefoot is playing. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you know when we're going to be live. And let's have a great show tonight, shall we? Here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. For over 35 years, individuals from all over the globe have made the journey to experience the renowned channel of Darryl Anka. Yes, he is a man who has been able to break through with remarkable multidimensional beings and learning from the future from a being named Bashar. Along with Edgar Cayce, Seth, and Abraham-Hicks, the Bashar material has been heralded as some of the most relevant, compelling, and dynamic information delivered to the planet to date. In addition to channeling Bashar, Daryl expresses his creative talents in the forms of writing, directing, and producing films through his own production company, Zia Films. Daryl's recent documentary, which he wrote, produced, and directed, entitled First Contact, explores his life as a channel and the messages Bashar shares through him. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Darryl Anka, we much appreciate you taking the time, and we had you scheduled 3 weeks ago. However, due to some technical issues on my end, we couldn't continue with the show. But I'm telling you, I am so excited to have you on, and thank you for being so generous with your time to come back so soon.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Dave. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate this.
Now, you being a Canadian living down in the United States, are you still following the hockey playoffs?
That would be my brother you'd be talking to, not me.
Well, at least before this whole COVID thing hit, I literally got cable for the first time in 5 years because I wanted to see the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then a week before COVID hits, I end up losing hockey season because of the virus. And then I have to wait. And now all the time the games are on and I can't watch because I'm in the studio here hanging on out. But that's okay. We're going to have some fun tonight. We appreciate you doing this once again. And Daryl, how did you learn how to channel?
Well, it all started in 1973, really, with the inciting incidents of seeing close broad daylight UFOs twice in a week, both times an equilateral black triangle. First time about 150 feet away, second time 60, 70 feet away. And you hear UFO stories and things like that, but you never know if they're real. But then when you see something like that enter your reality, everything changes. And I knew that the world was different than I was told, that these things were real, and I really wanted to find out what was going on. So I started doing a lot of research. And one thing kind of led to another. Back then, there weren't a lot of books on these topics, but whatever books there were kind of crammed onto one bookshelf in the bookstore. So I just kind of went down the line and UFO books kind of led to, psychic functioning books and spiritual books and channeling books and whatever else was around in the metaphysical community at the time. And 10 years after the sightings, I was introduced to a channel who was conducting seminars. And I went and I listened for several months, and I thought that the information was very helpful, very interesting, very, very different. And eventually the entity coming through that channel offered to teach a channeling class. Now, I went into that because I just wanted to continue my research because I didn't understand that channeling could be taught to people. I thought it was just sort of something that happened to you automatically out of the blue from all the stories I had read. So I went into the class to do the research, which was a series of guided meditations to put you in touch with whatever you wanted to get in touch with. It could be your own creativity, your own higher mind. You weren't necessarily expected to channel an entity. But about halfway through the course, when I was in a meditative state, I had this connection happen in my head that was like a telepathic contact, and all these things just sort of unfolded in my brain in one split second. All of a sudden, I felt like there was a memory that came back of making an agreement to do this in this life of Bashar. His image was in my head, and I remembered that, or realized that the UFO had been shown to me by him on purpose to get me to start moving forward and doing the research, so that when came time to do the channeling, I would kind of know what was going on. I wouldn't be freaked out or anything like that. And the message in my head was, now you know it's time to begin if this is something you still want to do. Now, all of this happened in my head in like one split second. I wasn't saying anything to anyone, and I thought, maybe I'm hallucinating here. Maybe this is a side effect of the meditation or something. But at that same instant, the entity coming through the channel who was talking to the class stopped talking and turned to me and said, there is an entity here for you right now if you're ready to begin. And I opened my eyes, and I happened to glance behind me at one of my classmates. Somehow she had seen the same image of Bashar's face that I had seen in my head, and she was actually sketching his face on a piece of paper. So I knew that there were two outside validations that this wasn't just my imagination. So I thought, all right, I'll go ahead and I'll see where this leads, because I knew it could be a beneficial thing. And I made enough progress that the teacher asked me to co-channel the next class with him, and I did. And eventually a woman came along who was doing the first doctoral thesis paper on the connection between psychology and channeling, and I became one of her subjects. She would invite friends to her house. I would channel to them. She would take her notes to make her paper. Well, word of mouth started spreading, and every week we started getting more and more and more and more people coming to the house. And we started having to do it twice a week, and then we'd had to do it in two houses, and eventually had to rent auditoriums, and people started finding out about it by word of mouth and inviting me to different cities, different countries. And here I am 37 years later, still channeling.
How did you develop that relationship with Bashar?
Well, it was just really a matter of practicing, realizing what the relationship was really all about. In some ways, linearly speaking, he has said he's my future self. I'd be one of his past lives, just to put it in old-fashioned terms, although from his perspective, everything exists at the same time, which is why this connection can be made. Because what we call the future, what we call the past, from their perspective, is just an illusion. Everything exists at once. But by continuing to do the channeling and getting more in touch with myself and letting go of, my assumptions, my fears, my uncertainties, and just trusting it more and more and more, it came through, the energy came through more and more smoothly. Because at first it was hard to take. It was hard to let it through my body. It was much more energy than I was used to handling. But as I let go of those things, it became easier and started to actually uplift me and leave me with energy after the channeling, instead of making me tired. So that whole process of just sort of investigating myself, getting to know myself, also allowed more information about him to come through and more information to come through for others as well. And that just kind of naturally evolved and started creating a stronger bond and a stronger relationship between us.
What did you know about channeling before you decided to take this path?
I had read the Seth material by Jane Roberts, so I was somewhat familiar with channeling through that avenue. But since doing this myself, I came to realize quite quickly that channeling is actually something everyone does. It's a true altered state in our brain called gamma, somewhere above 40 cycles per second in the brain to maybe about 100. And when anyone is doing something that they love to do, they're super hyper-focused, they're in the zone, so to speak, or in a deep meditation, their brain automatically goes into the channeling state, into gamma. So it just depends on what people want to use it for, but everyone has the ability to channel, and we all channel a lot of the time when we get into that zone. And it's like, you know, when you're doing something, you're so focused and you think maybe 15 minutes has passed, but it's been like an hour. That's the state I'm talking about, because in the channeling state, time is very collapsed for me. It feels like it's been 15 minutes when it's maybe been an hour, hour and a half. But I really learned that it is something we all have the ability to do, and we all do throughout our lives from time to time.
So how do we not know that we are doing it?
How do we not know?
Right. Like if you say we're all doing it, how do we know that we're not doing it right now or whatever?
Well, what I'm saying is we know we're doing it when we're in that state where we're doing what we love to do, when we're following our passion, when we're in our bliss, when we're in the zone. When we're not in that zone, I think most of us know it, because then we might have experiences of frustration and struggle and pain and strife and all of that. And those are indications that we're not in that state.
Now, is it a mental state? Explain that state. Is it a mental state of concentration or of relaxation? Maybe even going through some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Some relaxation techniques?
That could help. It's not a concentration so much as it is, I would just say, a focus. In other words, if you're so caught up in something that you're just loving doing, you're just in that focus. It is kind of a relaxed state, but it's a very active, relaxed state of intense focus, but it's not a mental concentration. You just automatically slip into that higher frequency in your brain when you are doing something where everything is flowing, where you're aligned with yourself, where you're having fun, you're really enjoying what you're doing. So it's kind of a weird combination of relaxation and focus, but not intense mental concentration. That's almost the opposite of the state.
Okay. I have channeled before. And
you all have, yeah.
Yeah. But my whole reality changed on December 13th, 2011, when I saw the angel of death in my mother's eyes. And 2 hours later, I ended up channeling the angel of death, and he told me how to keep my mother alive. And now, to me, leading up to this point, my idea of channeling was when you have one of those nights where you're up late, you can't sleep, there's nothing on the television, and you're flicking through the remote control trying to figure out what the hell to watch. I had no idea that this was actually going on, Daryl. I had no idea what it was. I remember waking up in the morning feeling very sore in my neck, feeling hungover, even though I'm not a drinker. I mean, there's a lot that went into this. And like you said, you know, it may feel like 5, 10, 15 minutes, but the next thing you know, it's an hour and a half has gone by. So for people who have never experienced this, you know, how do you describe it? The feeling?
It's a state of flowing. It's a state of knowing. It's a state of being. You're just in the moment. It's living in the present. It's being consumed by something. It just fills you up. There's nothing else. Everything else fades away. It's just this laser-like focus on this experience that you're having, this thing that you're doing. All the aspects of your mind are geared toward that one particular experience that you're having. There's no side thoughts. There's no questions about things. You're just completely caught up in whatever that is at the moment that's happening within you and to you.
But for people who are not prepared spiritually, this is something that could really, really change their entire lives. Like, I look back at how it changed my life, my friend, and it changed my entire direction because it was that powerful. You know, are people ready for that?
Yeah. Well, if they are going to express it like that, like I said, channeling is something everyone does when they're doing what they love to do. They don't have to feel it like that. It can seem perfectly natural and just be a matter of them really enjoying what's happening in their lives. But it can, as you're describing and has happened to me, shift into something bigger. It can shift into something different. And when it goes in that direction, then yes, it can have a profound effect on your life. Now, I would say whether someone believes they're ready or not, if something like that begins to happen to them, in a sense, they have arrived at a state where it can happen. And that means that in some sense, whether they know it consciously or not, they are ready for it, or it wouldn't happen. It couldn't happen. Because just from a physics point of view, you can't experience what you're not the vibrational frequency of. You have to, on some level, be equal to that experience for you to have an experience. So in that context, yes, anything that happens like that to someone, they are ready for it. Now, whether they believe they're ready for it, whether they act like they're ready for it, can be a different thing because they don't necessarily have to consciously know that they're ready for it. And that's where the dichotomy can come in. But just on a physics level, it wouldn't be capable of happening to them if they weren't on some level at the right frequency, which means they're ready for it.
You've been doing this for over 37 years. Does anything outside of Bashar try to channel through you now?
There have been other entities, but Bashar has facilitated them because there's a reason or a purpose for another entity to deliver a message or something. But in general, it's like 99% of the time him. Now, I started after he made the connection. His energy was really tough for me to take, and it took me a while to get used to it. It actually started making me feel like feverish, and I would have cramps in my neck and all sorts of things for a while until I got used to the energy. But the first entity from his civilization that I channeled on a regular basis for about the first year or so, where Bashar would come in now and then, was a female from his society that we referred to as Anima. And her energy was easier for me to take. So she kind of helped me with like the training wheel energy until I was capable of sort of riding the bike on my own, so to speak. And then Bashar came through more and more and more. And then for the majority of the 37 years, it's been him with another entity now and then that he announces would like to say something. And then he makes the shift for me within my consciousness that facilitates them. They say their piece, whoever they are. And then he takes over again.
Okay, so before all of this started 37 years ago, did you believe in any of this? Was this up your alley, or was this something that, you know, when you heard about it, you thought, wow, that'd be kind of interesting to learn about? Like, how did you get started with this? Man?
No. Well, that's what I mean. I had no idea about these things. Like I said, the only thing I'd ever heard about was, you hear stories about people who are psychic, or you hear a UFO tale and you don't know if it's true. Like I said, after I had my own sighting, that changed everything. But I didn't know anything about channeling until I started reading like the Seth material with Jane Roberts. And only then did I start getting the education that such things happen to people. So no, I knew nothing about this kind of stuff. And it was only by pursuing my research and going into that class that I really learned what I needed to learn to allow me to become a channel in this way.
Okay, so now that you've been channeling and been doing this, we're going to learn about Bashar here when we get back from the break at the bottom of the hour. We got about 4.5 minutes left. When you got into channeling and you started feeling the effects on your own body, for people who may not understand that, what does that feel like?
Well, like I said, the initial ones were a little bit difficult to handle because the energy was more than I could handle. So there was a lot of resistance in my nervous system to allow the energy to flow freely. There was a lot of blockages in that sense. So resistance causes effort. It causes pain in the body. Like I said, I would sometimes 24 hours before I would channel feel like I was coming down with a bad flu, or I would suddenly just get a really bad neck cramp. And all of this would go away when the channeling started. But about 24 hours beforehand, or sometimes a couple hours beforehand, I would just come down with all of these weird symptoms, which was, to me, now I understand, was simply an indication of higher frequency energies trying to come through a lower frequency body until I learned to acclimate and balance and match that frequency more.
Okay. So was it almost, I mean, the way you're explaining it to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it almost sounds like, it's like when you take medication, doctors need to change the dosage a little bit in order for your body to be able to handle that. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yeah. I think that's a good analogy. Yeah.
Interesting. But
I had to be the one to match. I had to be the one to match the dosage.
Right.
It wasn't so much that the dosage went down. I had to up the vibration to match the dosage of the energy that I was being given.
Okay. So, and that makes sense to me. But the physical challenges, did you notice a change in not only your mental capability, but your physical capabilities as well?
Yes. In fact, I noticed a change in my emotional balance, my psychic ability, my physical body ability. A lot of different things changed because of that channeling state and going into that state on such a regular basis. Because I think that's really the key, is when you are constantly repeating that state, definitely different changes happen all the way up and down the spectrum: mental, emotional, physical, psychic, what have you. So definitely after 37 years, there's a big difference in terms of how my body reacts to things, how I can pick up on things that are about to happen that haven't happened, how my emotions are more balanced, so on and so forth. There's a lot of different beneficial side effects, I will say, to this particular medicine.
How about the people around you? What did they say when you decided this was going to be something that you were going to move forward with in your life? How did the people around you react?
Well, I was actually pleasantly surprised, because I really did keep it to myself, because I really didn't know how people would react, especially back then, in the early 80s. There wasn't much about this. And when you did talk about it, people thought you were kind of nuts. So I didn't really bring it up. But finally, when certain circumstances made it so that I had to say something, just because people were noticing, I was going off to do something, on a regular basis. And they were just curious, where you go, every Tuesday night. And I finally, you understand that you can kind of get into an altered state and blah, blah, blah. And, the first person I told that to just immediately blurted out, "Oh, you're a channel." And I was shocked. I go, "Well, how do you know?" And she said, "Oh, my mother's been channeling for years." So that gave me an indication that there was more knowledge about it in general in the public than I thought there had been, and that it was okay. It wasn't necessarily going to be looked at as too freaky a thing, although I'm sure there are some people that still do look at it that way. And when I finally broached it to my parents, they're old-fashioned. They were, from another reality, another time. They didn't understand it exactly, but I was fortunate enough that they were saying, "Well, look, are you helping people?" And I said, "Yes." "Are you happy?" I said, "Yes." They said, "Then that's all we need to know."
That is amazing.
And so I was kind of really lucky that I had a support system like that. So it helped me to continue, and I know that now and then there are people that don't get it, and they don't approve of it, or they think it's weird or demonic or strange or what have you. But, I've learned that those are just old-fashioned biases, and that in time people will understand this from, I would say, a more physical or scientific point of view.
Daryl, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Darryl Anka introduces us to Bashar, coming up on Spaced Out Radio after this break. I love channeling. I'm not going to lie. I do. I haven't done it in a long time, but I love it.
Well, you should get back into it. And in a sense, you're channeling now when you do the radio show.
I channel a different person.
That's channeling.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. we all have different personalities, and different parts of our personality and higher mind can come through. Because I can hear it in your voice. When you get going, you're in the zone, and that means your frequency is raising, and you have to be getting into that state to do that.
Oh, you're making me blush, my friend. You're making me blush right now. You hit the nail on the head, because if I were to tell my audience right now that I am a, very, very introverted, timid, shy person, they would never believe it.
I wouldn't believe it.
They wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't believe it either.
But it's the persona.
And that's even more proof.
Yeah.
That's even more proof. You're channeling that persona.
I never thought about it that way.
But that's part of you anyway. Yeah.
It's actually kind of cool. I never thought about it that way.
It is. Now you can.
You're so stoic. You were so stoic.
No one would describe me that way.
All right.
I'm just grabbing a little water here.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
This is nice. I've never done an interview on my back porch before.
That is very nice.
With candles.
That's very nice.
It is.
It sets the mood. Nice and relaxed, man. Nice and relaxed.
Yeah. Except maybe for the occasional sirens running around.
Oh, that's okay.
For some reason, our block still hasn't gotten our power back. I don't know why.
That is a good siren, though. Very healthy siren right there.
Can you hear it?
Barely.
No, it's fading.
Barely.
It's fading now.
Getting back to the whole channeling thing. When I was really into it before I started the radio show, I channeled some pretty cool stuff, man. Channeled some very cool stuff. And what's amazing is how real it can be. And, and
you're in an altered state. It's all real.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's as weird as this sounds, I channeled my son before he was born.
That's not weird.
And well, I know, but to the YouTube crowd watching right now, and in that channeling session, I was told by him a couple of things, and so far, the three, and I keep this to myself a little bit, but so far the three things that he told me have come true, including the fact that he and I would not get along for the first 4 years of his life. Because
how old is he now?
Well, he's 7 now. He's 7 now.
Okay.
But my beautiful partner, she was totally motherly and doted over him. She's an amazing mom. Totally mothered him to the point where it was like I was not even existent. And that made me, it was hard because it made me actually pull away from my son. Like, what am I doing here? Am I actually needed? Right. And so
I understand.
Yeah. And so,
well, I assume everything is better now.
It's getting there. Every day is better. And, I think what really helped out was the fact that, I took some time off my daytime job because I was having, I'll be honest, I had a nervous breakdown. And being home with him while my partner was working, that brought us together, Oh,
well, see, it all worked out.
Yeah. Cool. So it's cool.
What's your son's name?
Colby.
What is it? Colby?
Colby. Yeah. Yeah.
Colby. Cool. That's cool, man.
And then he broke my nose last night. So that hurt.
What happened?
We were wrestling last night, and he tried to get out of one of my finishing moves, and he brought his heel down right up on my. I was moving my head forward as his foot was coming down, and his heel met my nose, and I felt my septum go crunch, and I was like, oh no, not again. Not again. Yep, again. So I literally spent a little bit in the bathroom last night straightening out my nose. That was kind of cool.
Wow. All right. Well, yes, very intense, but it's a bonding experience.
Yeah. Oh well, he's proud. He broke Dad's nose. He's proud now. Yeah. So
he has something to brag about.
Exactly.
It's like I took my dad down.
Exactly. All right, here we go, my friend.
All right.
Oh, why are we short of commercial here? Hold on. We're short of commercial here. Why did that...
Hello, space travelers.
Right.
It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out. Oh, hit that button. Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We really do appreciate you taking the time. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with Darryl Anka. He is a channeler of Bashar. We're learning all about channeling tonight, what it's like to have some sort of multidimensional or spiritual being come through your body and communicate through you. Darryl, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dave. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure. Who is Bashar?
Bashar presents himself, as he comes through, as an extraterrestrial entity, a physical being from a civilization in a parallel reality. In a sense, he has said also from a spiritual level, you could consider us to be the same soul in different time frames. He'd be a future self, I'd be a past self. But he does come from a civilization, and one of the purposes of making this connection, according to him, is that this is one of the ways they begin first contact with other civilizations. So he is, in a sense, a first contact specialist from his civilization.
Now, of course, I have to ask the obligatory follow-up to that. What does he look like?
He has described himself as what we typically would refer to as a hybrid being between what we know as the Greys and humans. So he is human-like, about 5 feet tall, relatively thin. The males have no hair. Their heads are a little larger. Their eyes are larger than ours. Nose, mouth, and ears are a little bit smaller. Their skin tends to be very, very pale, though there are some exceptions. It is one of, according to him, one of the races that were created by the Greys during what we typically refer to as the abduction scenarios, where people have reported seeing hybrid children being created in those experiences. And so he has said that his race, his species, is actually an offshoot of that particular agenda, of that ongoing agenda.
So what is his purpose with you from his stance?
Well, again, the idea being that if we are, from one perspective, the same soul in two different timelines, it's like saying, okay, since we know we're going to make contact with Earth at some point, I have to have a life in that civilization. This is one of the things they do in order to absorb the information, the experience of that civilization, so that we're not too alien, too foreign to each other. And then by connecting this way, with his past self, so to speak. He can bring through information, and he can gauge what we do with that information. And the translations that happen through me are more efficient by having had an experience of having a life in our civilization, so that he can relate to us, so that we can relate to him. This is kind of the technique they do in order to make contact more efficient with a different civilization. And he's done this over and over and over again with other civilizations. So I guess from what he's explained, I am his version of him in this reality that he can use as a biological translator to absorb experiences from our society and to share information to our society.
So did he seek you out, or did you seek him out? If you are him and he is you?
Well, in the fact that I had the UFO sighting, and in the fact that he made the connection during the channeling class, I guess from my perspective, he sought me out. But in the sense that I decided to do the research, learn what channeling was, follow up on finding out what UFOs were all about, I suppose in some senses we sought each other out until that moment came where that connection needed to happen to begin the channeling.
All right. So with that, how did he know how to find you, or you find him?
Well, they're very much more evolved than we are on a lot of different levels, and they perceive reality very different than we do, and they're much closer to the non-physical level of things, so they do function kind of like spirits, even though they are physical. And therefore, from the higher point of view that they have, they can see deeper into dimensions, into realities. It's not as difficult for them to perceive similar connections that they have in other realities. It's easier for them to perceive those things naturally in their reality than it is for us at this point in our evolution. So to him, it's perfectly natural to be aware at all times of any extensions or other versions of himself that exist in other parallel realities, because his consciousness is just that much more expanded to be aware of those things.
So where is he?
Well, he comes from, like I said, a parallel reality. He comes from a planet. The civilization in their ancient language is called Essassani. The people are Sassani. But if we were to overlap their reality with our reality, his solar system would be about 500 light years in the direction of the Orion constellation. Now, that's where he comes from. But where he is in a scout ship, generally over the Sedona area, because that's a particular energy vortex that he is helping to stabilize for us so that the transformations we're going through can be smoother. And so he is in our reality. He has shifted his ship and his beingness to our physical reality, which is obviously what he had to do in order for me to perceive his ship to begin with. Otherwise, they would be invisible to us, and we would be invisible to them unless we shift into each other's realities.
Well, I mean, I guess, and I'm saying, as someone who has had experience with this as well, albeit not on the same level, you know, for a lot of people out there who might be a little bit skeptical of what you're saying and what your message is with Bashar, you know, they may say something along the lines of, you know, you've been doing this for 37 years with him, and yet the world keeps becoming more and more dangerous for mankind or humankind, whatever word we're allowed to say these days.
Yes, and that's actually part of the process, because what he's saying is, from his observation, what we're doing now is getting everything out on the table. We're now admitting and seeing more clearly the choices that we've made that are not what we prefer. And so we have to sort of get that out of our system. To him, it's kind of like a darkest before the dawn scenario. If we don't admit, if we don't allow ourselves to see the consequences of a lot of the negative and fear-based choices we've made, and we don't get them out in front of our eyes and admit that this is not the world the way we want the world to be, then we can't really make the changes we need to make. So from his perspective, it's perfectly natural for beings like us who have been living from negative and fear-based beliefs for so long, but kept it all suppressed, not admitting it, not taking responsibility for the choices. It's perfectly natural from his point of view that as we accelerate and expand our consciousness, we have to start seeing more clearly and admitting more honestly that these things that we're experiencing are consequences of choices we've made in the past. And by seeing that more clearly, we can make better choices and experience different consequences. So this to him is part of the natural evolution of expanding consciousness, going from darkness to light, from negative to positive, from fear to freedom.
Okay, well, what about your critics who will say that what you are doing is demonic and that you shouldn't be channeling any type of spirit or entity because they are known to pull the wool over people's eyes who are naive to any type of positivity?
Well, the first thing I would say is that these are very old-fashioned definitions and terminologies for things that people simply don't understand. Kind of in much the same way that, negative entities were considered responsible for earthquakes and things like that in the past. So the idea is that this is the leading edge, the cutting edge of a new understanding of physics, a new understanding of our connection to other beings in the universe. And I know this is going to sound really kind of weird, but I'm just going to have to use this terminology to sort of put it in perspective. But in a way, people who automatically assume that other entities being channeled, or whether they're, other spirits or whether they're extraterrestrials, to call them demons right out of the gate, in a sense, is kind of racist, because you're just assuming that because they're different, they have to be demonic. It's a very negative, fear-based reaction, which is exactly what Bashar is talking about, that we need to learn to let go of, because we're just calling people from another planet demons in much the same way that a lot of cultures called other humans demons or negative or something like that, just because of differences in the color of their skin or different religions or what have you. So this is just another level of people getting used to the idea that we're connected to a bigger galactic family than we ever knew, that there are beings that are interacting with us on different levels, and the demonic idea is just another fear reaction of something we don't understand because we're not willing to face those demons within ourselves. That would be my take on it.
Darryl Anka is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Darryl, the one thing that shocked me when I was, kind of thrown into the whole channeling area, not knowing what the hell was going on, is the fact that when a being is inside of you, it's kind of weird, because I remember being very excited, in trying to, instead of letting the words just flow out, whatever that entity wanted to say, I was trying to almost guess what it was going to say, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
And there was excitement.
Yeah, you're going to
that.
try and be involved. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're going to try and be involved, but you have to learn to get out of the way ultimately, and that's fine. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to rewind what you just said, because that's one of the things that Bashar is attempting to do, is modernize and streamline definitions. From his perspective, there is no such thing as an entity actually being inside you. Possession is an illusion. What he's saying is mechanically happening is that your energy is matching the frequency of the other being's energy, and you become a model of their energy, a mirror of their energy, and you express the same thoughts at the same time that they're having them, because you're on the same wavelength. There's actually no such thing as an entity entering anybody's body. That's an illusion from the physical space-time perspective. So that's a description of what appears to be happening, but that's an inaccurate description of what is mechanically happening. And this is what I'm saying is one of the things that I believe need to change with regard to people's relationship to spiritual and metaphysical things.
Right.
Is they need to streamline their definitions for the 21st century, because the more we continue to use medieval, outdated definitions, we remain confused about what's actually happening there. And a lot of those definitions that are outdated can sound like fearful definitions, because who wants to be possessed? Nobody. Who wants to have something come into them, into their body that they don't know about? Nobody. But that's not what's happening. So if people can kind of wrap their mind around the physics behind what the experience actually is, I think it will go a long way toward quelling a lot of those fears, because then people understand they're always in control and they can always decide what to do or what not to do with it, because they have to be the ones to match that energy in order to actually have the experience of channeling another entity. They're just acting as biological translators. That's all they're doing.
Either way, it was such an energy rush of excitement that this was going on.
Oh, sure.
What is that energy all about?
Well, a lot of the entities that you might connect to, including even your own higher mind, definition being higher, means they're operating on a much higher frequency. And that's the energy you're experiencing. You've got like a physical reality that by definition has a lower frequency on Earth, and you're connecting to a much higher frequency. And anytime you at a higher frequency or match a higher frequency, you're going to feel that rush of euphoria, because those higher frequencies exist in a euphoric state, in a state of joy and love and creativity. So you're going to feel that rush within yourself as you become more of yourself, because that's what you're really like too on the higher levels. And so the entities that make connections to us from higher planes are also giving us an opportunity to feel more of who we actually are. When we decide to match their frequencies, we get to experience more of what it's like to be the fullest being, or at least a fuller version of the being we are, than we typically do on a day-to-day basis. And that's what that rush of euphoria is the realization of what we really are.
I mean, is it connecting to a higher self within you to connect with these entities?
Yes. You kind of have to go through your own higher mind in order to do that. The higher mind helps facilitate that connection, because the higher mind already operates on a frequency that's closer to the frequencies that those entities operate on. So the higher mind kind of, for lack of a better term, acts as a middleman to facilitate your ability to raise your frequency to match those frequencies and meet in the middle. That's exactly what happens with Bashar and I. The channeling class trained me to change my frequency, to raise my frequency, and get closer to the frequency he operates on. He probably alters his frequency as well. Somewhere in the middle, we lock, we meet, our vibrations harmonize and match, kind of like tuning forks would be a good analogy. You know that if two tuning forks are vibrationally matched, you can start one tuning fork vibrating, and the sympathetic vibrations will cause the other tuning fork, whether you touch it or not, to actually start vibrating in harmony. So it's kind of like that idea. It's matching frequencies. This, as Bashar has explained it, is one of the reasons why people who are in love actually know what each other is thinking. This is what telepathy is all about, and it's a telepathic contact that I'm having with Bashar. It's not that you're reading someone else's mind when you're telepathic. It's that you're operating on a similar wavelength and you're having the same thoughts at the same time, because those are the thoughts that are relevant to that frequency. So in a sense, telepathy is you're reading your own mind, but you're on such a similar wavelength to someone else that you know exactly what they're thinking at exactly the same time. And that's why people who are in love know exactly what each other's thoughts are, finish each other's sentences, and things like that. So again, that's the mechanical description of what has long been considered an effect of reading someone else's mind is not actually what's happening. But the mechanical description explains what is happening in terms of energy and physics and frequency.
Okay, so one of the things that I've noticed from people who channel, their voices change. You can almost see their physical attributes shift, whether it's their facial expressions become more robotic. Some people, we've seen like cheekbones all of a sudden protrude. What causes those physical changes?
Exactly what I was just talking about. Remember, we're made of energy. So that when we change our frequency to be something closer as a representation of the entity that we're matching frequencies with, it's inevitable that some of the traits of either the entity itself or a representation of the higher frequency is going to actually cause physiological changes to happen, whether it just be changes of voice or presentation or physiology. it's natural that you would assume some of those characteristics that are more representative of something other than yourself when you're connecting to something other than yourself.
Okay. So as we got about just under 4 minutes here to go before we go to break at the top of the hour, Darryl Anka is our guest tonight talking about channeling Bashar. With Bashar, when his energy is around, how do you recognize it?
Well, after 37 years, it's very easy to recognize. But again, it's much, how do I put this? It's much stronger and more direct than mine. And it definitely comes with his personality. Just like, you would recognize the voice of your friend talking on the phone or something like that. Or if they snuck up behind you and said hi, you would know exactly who it is. It comes with a distinct sense of that person's characteristics, personality, energy, their cadence, everything. So he definitely has his own personality, and I've gotten used to recognizing it.
Does he give you little signs that he's coming? Because I know a good friend of mine, Samantha Mowat, who's a good friend of this show and a good personal friend of mine. When she's about to be abducted or something along those lines, she sees blue butterflies. So does he give you any type of physical sign or a song or anything to let you know that he's coming?
It's more of an energy buildup. And sometimes it'll happen because when we are doing a public event, we kind of have to know what the subject is he's going to talk about. We have to have a title. So he will sometimes come ahead of time, and I'll feel that buildup, and it'll kind of start sort of pulling me toward the channeling state, but not all the way. It's sort of like just sort of falling into a little bit of a daydream, and then the information that I need to pass along to the company, Bashar Communications, that handles the events, will give me the title, will give me the subject, but I don't know exactly what he's going to talk about until he actually does the public event. But yeah, there'll be those moments where I'll get these sensations, I'll get this little energy buildup, I'll feel like I'm sort of falling toward going into the altered state, but not all the way. And sometimes there can be little synchronistic things as well that'll pop up that will let me know, okay, he's making a connection here somehow.
Okay. So is it friendly? Does your body change in any way?
Well, certainly during the channeling itself, because then it's a full-fledged connection.
Yes.
Where, again, as you've noticed, the vocal qualities will change, the mannerisms will change, my breathing will change in a variety of ways, my body language will change. Yes, there are many changes that happen during the channeling. And as I was talking before, there are actually, because I've done this in the First Contact documentary we did about how I became a channel, we wired me up to a brainwave machine, an EEG machine, and there are definitely changes going on in the brain, specifically, some of which brain science says aren't even supposed to be able to happen. So we know that there are profound physiological changes happening during the channeling state.
Interesting. It just, this is something that I would love, as we got about 30 seconds left. There's something about this that I would love for everybody in our audience to actually experience.
Well, again, as I said, if they follow their passion in life, they will. Whether they experience another entity or not, they will experience the channeling state.
Well, on that note, we're going to learn more about Bashar, what his messages are, what they mean, coming up with our guest tonight, Darryl Anka. Website, Bashar.org, if you want to check it on out. I highly suggest you do. You can also sign up for a bunch of Darryl's classes and get everything going that you need to know about how to get in deep with yourself in order to channel these beings. And, get yourself a nice recliner, too. That always helps me. Nice recliner helps. Don't you think, Daryl? Nice recliner.
I have to sit up straight in my channeling, unfortunately.
I see that. My friend, you hold on. We're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. More Spaced Out Radio with Darryl Anka and Bashar coming up next after these commercials. All right, my friend, I'm just going to quickly step away for a couple minutes. We got about 6 minutes. I'll be right back, okay?
Oh, okay. Me too. I'm going to grab some water.
Yep.
Okay. I just need some water.
YouTube. Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye.
Hey, Space Travelers.
All right,
this is John
I am
Resnick,
back, my
founder of
friend.
the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know
I was okay. I think I shocked my audience that I actually am wearing a Jaws t-shirt because sharks literally, I love sharks, but they literally scare the daylights out of me. I will not go in the ocean. Will not go in the ocean. You know, so
me neither.
Yeah, I'm a meal.
I understand.
Daryl, I'm a meal. I'm just going to admit that. I'm a meal. I'm not an appetizer. Okay? I'm a meal.
That's funny.
So, yeah, I don't go in the ocean, but I have a Jaws t-shirt on. I saw it yesterday, and I bought it because I thought it would be funny, and I think I'm right.
Are people actually able to see you, yes?
Oh, yeah, they can see me. Yeah, they can see me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got about 45 seconds. Then the music will play. I'll reintroduce you and the show, and we're off and running.
Ta-da.
Just like that. Going by quick. We're 1 hour
Just
in
like
already.
That. I know. See, that's channeling.
Right?
It is.
There we are. Okay, 30 seconds. Gary says, Dave, sharks are in the lakes. Yes, that's why I don't go into lakes up here. Even ones on top of the mountain. You never know what shark has been dropped off by the aliens. You just don't know.
Monday with myself, Michael W. Hall,
all right, my friend,
paranormal lawyer at
about to come back. And remember to hit that subscribe button, YouTube viewers, if you haven't already, and hit that bell thingy.
Spaced Out Radio.
Here we go, guys.
And on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 is now underway on Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Traveler Club. Somnolescent is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with Darryl Anka, 37 years of channeling Bashar, who is a multidimensional being who gives him great insight to what is happening here on Earth. Darryl's website, bashar.org, if you want to check it on out, or book some sort of conference that he will be speaking at or event and see him live. I got to say this, Daryl. I actually really want to see you live. I really do.
Well, that would be nice, and maybe when the whole pandemic is over, we'll be doing live again. But until then, all of our public events and private events are on Zoom.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm going to wait because I want to meet you, too. So let's get into this.
Well, that would be fun.
Let's get into this. You know, what does Bashar do with the messages he's trying to have you facilitate to the public of Earth?
Well, as I said, this is, from his perspective, part of the process that they go through when they're making first contact with a new civilization. They have a version of themselves, if you want to say, that's what I am, or a biological translator they make a connection to be able to deliver information to the society and see what that society does with that information to determine whether or not the society actually will choose to have open contact with them. So he delivers information that is designed, if applied in our physical lives, to upgrade our energy, to raise our frequency, and get us closer to the vibration of their reality, make us more vibrationally compatible with them and them to us. So it's like all of this information that comes through are things that have to do with, from their perspective, the nature and structure of reality, how we create our reality, how our belief systems determine our experiences in life. They're attempting to help us sort of see through the illusion of physical reality and help us to create reality experiences that are more in alignment with who we truly are, because, as I said before, who we truly are operates on a much higher frequency and makes us more vibrationally compatible to their civilization, and thus makes contact easier between us. So all the information that he provides is kind of a way of bringing metaphysical concepts and grounding them down to earth, no pun intended, and providing toolkits for how we can make changes in our lives and in the world in the way that we say we prefer to. But they also sit back and observe whether or not we actually do carry through with that. Because again, from their point of view, contact is not a given. It's not something they will force on us. It's something we have to choose. And one of the ways that they get to see whether or not we're heading in that direction is how willing we are to understand and apply the information that they share with us and change our lives in ways that make us more likely, more probable to have contact with beings from other civilizations who operate on higher frequency.
Couple questions coming from our audience here as we like to bring them in hour two here, Daryl. Mike is asking, Daryl, do you believe there is a connection with channeling and lucid dreaming?
Yes, I do. First of all, lucid dreaming can help you understand that physical reality is also a type of dream. So channeling to me is a way of becoming more lucid in the physical dream, which can in some senses help you become more lucid in the what we call the typical dream time when we're asleep. And that by allowing yourself to sort of get into these heightened states, you start to sort of break down the barriers of experiencing space and time in very different ways. It becomes more flexible, more malleable. Physical reality becomes more synchronistic and dreamlike. And therefore, it's kind of like you start to blend the two ideas of what is the typical non-physical dream that we have at night and the physical dream we're having right now. So I do believe there is a connection energetically between the channeling state and becoming more lucid, not only in nighttime dreams, but in the physical dream that we call reality.
All right. Let's get to Corey's question. He is asking, has Bashar said anything about the pandemic that's going on right now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things, again, I'll give two of the things he's basically said here. Number one, of course, as we sort of touched on before, it's about realizing our connection and our responsibility for certain things that exist in our reality in terms of the choices we make that bring about certain experiences. So we do know to some degree that COVID, the pandemic, is connected to things like the destruction of the environment that allows for opportunistic organisms to sort of leave their niche and go outside that and cross species into humans and so on and so forth. So one level of it is about taking more responsibility for the kind of choices we're making, not destroying the planet and having some kind of a reflective backlash from nature about that. Number two is still that we can use this in a positive way, because the sequestering that we're now doing is kind of like going into a monastic experience where we are sort of forced to be with ourselves, to examine ourselves, to go within, and to spend this time figuring out what beliefs don't work for us and to let them go and streamline ourselves so that in going through this passage, let's call it, what Bashar calls the eye of the needle, we can strip ourselves down to a more streamlined state, holding on to the beliefs that truly serve us in a positive way, and really divesting ourselves of those belief systems that don't, fear-based beliefs, negative beliefs, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of opportunity in this situation for us to decide how to make better choices, and there's a big opportunity for us to get to know ourselves better and let go of those things that are simply not representative of who we truly prefer to be. And I'm sure there are many more things going on as well, but those are two of the main things that he's talked about.
All right, let's get to Davin's question. He's listening in from Vietnam. He is asking, Daryl, why didn't the extraterrestrials contact people 100 plus years ago when humanity would have been more easily accepting of them?
Well, first, I'm not exactly sure what makes him think humanity would have been more accepting of them 100 years ago. So that's from my perspective, I'm not sure whether that would be true. But again, they have determined when it is the appropriate time that they believe we're ready. When Bashar presents himself as a first contact specialist, that means that he's done this dozens and dozens of times with many different civilizations. So they take a long time to observe what the civilization is about. They understand that the civilization may, because of their belief systems, not be ready for that, and therefore an introduction like that could actually cause damage to the society. They're very cautious, very careful about the idea of exactly how they introduce themselves. And like I said, I'm really not sure if it wouldn't have been worse for them to have introduced themselves 100 years ago. It's still not something really that most people would accept without a lot of understanding and a lot of preparation. So I just have to kind of go off that premise that they know what they're doing in terms of the timing of this.
Okay, so you mentioned timing with that, because from a lot of times we hear that they don't live on time like we as humans do. So is their timing for everything usually off from what we expect? Because, I mean, we as humans, we now want things now. We don't want to wait. We want it here, now, and in the present. Yet, if they're not living on a timeline, wouldn't that kind of be a little bit erroneous in thinking that we are waiting for them to, or their message may not get to us when we feel we need it? It's all about when they feel it's ready?
Well, it's both. They're observing, like I said, how we respond and react to the information, how we apply it or don't apply it, whether we're in fear or not in fear. So the timing is determined by both sides. They're really looking to see what we do, how we react. I mean, here's an example. Most people that are aware of UFO incidents are aware of what's called the Phoenix Light incident in Arizona. I think back in, 1997, I believe, where a mile-long ship or a mile-wide ship, a big boomerang-shaped ship with lights, passed over the entire state of Arizona at night, very slowly, was witnessed by over 10,000 people, including the governor of the state. What did we hear on the news? Oh, it was probably airplanes or it was military flares. No, it wasn't some gigantic UFO. So that to me and that to Bashar is a perfect indication that we're not ready. We can't even admit seeing something so blatant in front of our eyes and making it something relatively normal that they know that we're just not ready for something more yet. So again, they continue to give the information to help us acclimate, to help us understand that it's a possible choice we can make, but they're not going to push it on us. They're really looking to us to determine a lot of the timing by our own behaviors, our own responses and reactions to the things that they already are showing us and we're ignoring.
All right. So with that, and that makes sense. That makes complete sense. With that, is Bashar also connected to other extraterrestrials? Let's say the beings that were flying that craft.
He is. He knows of them. He knows who they are. And different civilizations will do different things based on their interactions or their relationships to us, or whatever part they're playing in this whole idea of open contact. So he is relatively aware, not aware of everyone and everything, but relatively aware of the ones that are involved in the ongoing process of seeing if Earth is going to choose to have open contact with extraterrestrial beings.
Okay. So does he also know the beings that are causing a lot of havoc here, taking people, operating on them, maybe doing something that's a little bit more grotesque, or maybe taking humans and never returning them?
Okay, this is a big story. It's a huge story, and it's connected to some degree to them, because this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the idea of who Bashar is. From his perspective, the beings called the Greys that are often depicted as being involved in the abduction experiences are actually mutated humans from a parallel version of Earth. The short version of the story is they destroyed their version of Earth. They went down a similar path to the path we're walking on in terms of the destruction of nature and all sorts of things, but they took it much, much further. They did it to the point where they could no longer really thrive. Over time, they had to actually mutate themselves into the beings called the Greys to survive, but they still couldn't reproduce. and a lot of other things that happened to them made it inevitable that their civilization would die out. They knew that the only way that they could continue was to find a viable source of human DNA. So they used their advanced technology to actually shift into parallel versions of reality, parallel versions of Earth like ours, where human DNA was still viable. And that's why those experiences are happening, in extracting DNA to create hybrid beings that will actually not only continue to allow their civilization to exist, but also, like Bashar, being one of the beings of those hybrid races, are capable of sharing information that would help us not go down the same path of destruction that the humans went down that turned themselves into the Greys. Now, I know I've got friends that are abductees, and I know that it's been a very traumatic thing. And Bashar is not excusing the trauma in any way, shape, or form. But he's saying what you have to understand is when they took it upon themselves to create this agenda of creating hybrids so that they would continue as a society, they actually had to divest themselves of emotionality and turn themselves into a hive mentality. The project was just so huge, so enormous, that they had to work as a single entity in order to get it done. So they actually kind of gave up their emotionality in order to function in a more machine-like way, a more efficient way, to make sure that their society was capable of accomplishing this in the time it would take without dying out. But the benefit of it is that the hybrids that are created can help us make sure we don't do the same thing to our planet. Now, he has also said that even though, and again, this is not an excuse, the idea is that simply because they can't relate to us emotionally anymore, the Greys, that they don't really understand what they're causing in terms of the trauma, the pain, and so on and so forth. They really have become like automatons. But they have made these agreements with these people from a higher level. And from Bashar's perspective, what he's actually said is many of the people who are in fact abductees are actually part of the family lines of those Greys who once were human. So they're actually kind of taking the DNA from their own family lines, from their own relatives, in a sense, who on a higher spiritual level have made an agreement to participate in this, because they also know on another level that the hybrids now giving us this information is going to help Earth evolve in a more positive way. Like I said, this is an extremely long, extremely dense, extremely complex story. I've given the story that Bashar has told in a very brief nutshell. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's a brief version of the idea of what's going on with the abduction experiences.
Okay, so with that happening, what about these people that go missing and never to be seen again? Have they been taken off this planet for nefarious reasons? Have they been taken to go maybe to back home to where their spiritual side of them is from, whether it's somewhere in the universe? I don't know. I'm probably not explaining that very well, but just curious, do we know what's happening with a lot of these missing people?
Bashar has never given a definitive answer to that, because I don't know that he's ever actually been asked that question. So I can't give you a definitive answer either. There have been hints here and there that sometimes a person who doesn't come back, it's not for nefarious reasons. It may simply be that they made a decision to stay with those beings, either on the ships or being taken to their planet to help out in some other way. So I don't believe that it's nefarious, at least not with the beings that we've been talking about. I can't vouch for the idea of whatever other beings may or may not be involved. I don't think there are as many nefarious intentions as many people like to think when they go into conspiracy theories. Bashar has said that a lot of that is highly exaggerated because of our own fear-based beliefs. Nevertheless, I'm sure there are definitely different reasons, and there may be different reasons for the different species that people may be interacting with as to why some of them may never return.
Couple questions from our audience. Nicole is asking in our YouTube chat, can children channel unknowingly?
I think children probably channel more often than adults do. And sure, it's probably more automatic for them because in a sense they haven't been taught out of that natural state for the most part, whereas most adults have been taught that these things are not supposed to happen. I think children will probably be very natural channels, and they probably channel more often than you may think. A lot of times when children tell us that they're either seeing spirits or they're remembering a past life or they're talking to some other entity, I believe that sometimes that might truly just be imagination. I also believe that sometimes it's not. They're actually telling you that they're talking to real beings.
All right. Let's move on here to another question from Cat Chaser in our YouTube chat, asking about reptilians. Are they good? Are they bad? Does Bashar know?
Again, he has said that a lot of the stories about that are exaggerated in fear-based ways. He has sort of explained, okay, let's see if I can get into this clearly, the way he's described it. He has said the reptilians are essentially the first hybridization from this planet. In other words, for lack of a better term, and I know this is a very broad term, so I hope people will sort of take this with a grain of salt, but in broad terms, dinosaur DNA was used to create hybrid beings a long time ago, which began the idea of the reptilian civilization. Now, when we evolved as mammals, we have a primitive part of the brain, the survival mechanism part of the brain, that reacts in survival mode when it is confronted with something it believes is a predator. The reptilians have the kind of energy that we interpret as predatory simply because of the reptilian-based DNA. We tend to react fearfully and go into survival mode because the primitive part of our brain sees them, at least most people who have some experience of this, see them as dangerous, as predatory, as something that might eat us. And so we're afraid and we start assigning all sorts of negative meanings to their existence. I don't believe that overall they're nefarious. I think it's something more like what I just described in terms of we just happen to have a very predatory prey reaction to them, and therefore it sort of sets up all sorts of negative fear-based stories in our mind about what they're up to and so on and so forth. Bashar has said it's not anywhere near what most people say when they're talking about conspiracy theories about reptilian control and all that kind of stuff. He said a lot of that is just what's being exaggerated in our own minds because of our reaction to the reptilian DNA from a mammal-based DNA.
We got 2 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Darryl Anka is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Gary is asking, can you channel more than one being at the time?
Well, generally, no. I mean, they'll usually be polite and take turns. Otherwise, it might be a little bit confusing in terms of the vibrational state. It's not that you can't connect to a group of beings, but again, you'll probably channel one personality at a time from that group. So you might feel the connection to multiple entities at the same time, but in terms of the actual information being delivered through the channel, it would be a little confusing if more than one of them was speaking at the same time.
All right. I think we got time to get in one more question here. This is from, let me just check, Anthony. Maybe we might have to take this one after the break because he's asking on tips on how to channel and embrace the concept. But yeah, we'll take that one after the break. Do you enjoy what you do, Daryl?
Sure.
Is it fun for you?
Absolutely. Or I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't.
Really?
And that's part of the whole idea that Bashar presents of following your passion, acting on your passion. If it wasn't exciting for me to do, I wouldn't be doing it.
Well, that pretty much sums up that question. Sums it right up. Thank you for doing that. I guess I don't need to. I guess I don't need to delve into that one much more than what you just said, because you could tell even just talking about it how much you enjoy this type of conversation and engaging and enlightening people with it. And I think that's pretty special, man.
It is one of my passions, just like writing and filmmaking. It's all different forms of communication to present different ideas, different ways looking at things. So absolutely, I enjoy it.
All right, you hold on right there. We're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Darryl Anka is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, channeling Bashar. What's it like to channel? More of your questions in the chat rooms, because we have Daryl for another hour on Spaced Out Radio, and I know you're enjoying it. So am I here on Spaced Out Radio. This is so much fun, man. Thank you so much.
It is. Oh, thank you. My pleasure. I love that you create opportunities like this to share information with people. It's great. So thank you.
Oh, no, man. Thank you for coming on. See, now we're going to go all Canadian on each other, man, and the audience is going to start rolling their eyes. Thank you.
Have some maple syrup.
Well,
have some pancakes.
I do have a Tim Hortons ice cap here, so, I mean, it is kind of...
Getting close to that. Yeah.
Hey, what do you miss about home?
Well, I wasn't raised in Canada. I was brought down here when I was a baby to LA.
Right. Oh, so you still hold your Canadian...
I'm still a Canadian citizen.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I'm still a Canadian citizen. But, and I went back to visit a couple of times at Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver. But, no, I was raised here.
Well, that's kind of cool, having that dual citizenship thing.
Yeah. Well, it's actually not from the United States point of view. It's not dual. They don't consider it that way. Maybe Canada does. I don't know. But I'm a permanent resident here. I have a green card, probably one of the oldest green cards around, because my parents brought me through in 1954. So, I've been around here for a while.
1954. How old are you?
I'll be 69 in October.
Are you shitting me? Because I'm like looking at your photo, and I'm like, there is no way you were 1 year, a couple years younger than my father. No way. Look at these photos.
Well, see, that's what channeling does for you. It keeps you in the moment and doesn't allow you to age as much.
No, Daryl, I mean this with all due respect. I thought you were in your 40s like me.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. But no, I'm definitely almost 69.
Holy cow. God, most of us could only hope to look like that at 69 years old. I've got the beard of a 75-year-old right now. Sheer white.
Well, see, that's one of the tricks. I don't have a beard and I shave my head, so you don't know how gray I actually am.
True. True. I get you there. I do get you there. That makes sense to me. That makes sense. Very cool. Oh, my goodness. That actually kind of weirded me out there for a quick second. I would have never known.
I love weirding people out.
Yeah. Good friend of mine, Johnny Enoch, actually saw you in Vegas a couple of years ago. He said you were absolutely incredible.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank him.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. That is really kind of cool. All right. So we got about, where are we here? About just over 2.5 minutes.
All right.
Now I'm getting in trouble for hating on my captain's beard for my own audience. Don't hate your beard, Captain. Don't hate your beard.
Don't hate your beard. It's very distinguished.
I'm going to trim it here soon. I don't, well, actually I probably won't, because we are getting into, where I live about 5.5 hours northeast of Vancouver, if you're driving.
Oh, it's cold. Chilly.
And so we're getting into firewood season. So actually Thursday I'll go into the forest and do my part. It's really cool because I kind of do this ritual when I go into the forest. I let, wherever I stop, before I fire up my chainsaw, I'll let all the creatures know around there that I'm here to take out all the dead wood that's fallen or standing. So that way it prevents the chances of forest fires. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I do, especially right now in California, since half of it's on fire.
Yeah. Well, yeah. British Columbia, too. So, actually, this year, this is my first summer in 3 years that I haven't smelt forest fire smoke, which is nice. I mean, I was evacuated from my house in 2017 for 15 days. And that was scary. I mean, the fire came within, I think, about two and a half miles, 3 miles from my house.
Yeah.
That's close
enough.
Yeah,
we've had friends whose houses burned to the ground in the last fire.
Oh, that's terrible.
So, yeah, we understand.
Yeah, that is terrible. You know? So...
and now this one, they're talking about, these lightning surges that start more fires because of the fires. It's a very strange phenomenon.
Yeah. And the weather, and the problem is you can't control it because the fire creates its own weather pattern. It's nuts.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, things are changing.
All right, my friend, hold on here. We're going to come back in about 15 seconds here.
Okie doke.
No.
Listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
All right. Come back. 5 seconds. And music's on. Here we go as we've passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. On Twitter, you can follow us at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with channeler Darryl Anka. He's best known for the last 37 plus years of channeling and multidimensional being named Bashar. His website, bashar.org. Darryl, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave. Happy to be here.
Not a problem. Not a problem. We're glad to have you here as well. Now, I do know there are some questions in the chat rooms here that I'm going to try and get to here momentarily, but I want to ask you in regards to the channeling side of things. Have you ever been taken to places that you have personally have said, look, I don't want to go here. This is uncomfortable for me, and I don't feel safe. Has that ever happened?
You mean in the channeling itself?
Yes.
No, never. Because again, the channel is always allowed to be in control. So you get to regulate how things happen, when they happen, things like that. And again, remember, the entity has your best interests at heart. Otherwise, what would be the point? Because if something is going to freak someone out and you're not going to be able to really do the channeling as efficiently, then that wouldn't serve getting the information through to anyone else either. So
True.
It's always going to be generally left up to your own general agenda. Now, again, the entity might say, well, you want to take a look at this now, you want to do this now, you want to feel something different here, you want to take it to another level. But again, you get to say, sure, or let's wait a while. So, no, I've never really experienced anything other than getting used to the energy in the beginning was a little physically uncomfortable, but that was just because I was getting in the way by not divesting myself right away of, outdated beliefs or resistance or, fears or just not knowing what was going on or anything like that. But once I did, it all smoothed out and it became a very uplifting, buoyant, energizing kind of an experience.
Have you ever had a situation where you've wanted to see things but were told you weren't allowed to?
Yeah, there have been sometimes things like that where the entities say it's not really appropriate at this particular moment. Now, I have had 4 sort of like dream encounters with Bashar where he has been able to sort of show me things that I've been curious about and download information and things like that I have personal interest in. So, those have been sort of the equivalent of saying, okay, we can give you this much. But more than that is not appropriate at the moment because you're in a process where you have to also figure things out for yourself. And we can't just ruin all the surprises. You know, we can't just unwrap all the presents for you. So we'll give you this much, and then the rest of it, you kind of have to get to another point before we can give you more. Because the channel has to grow too. The channel has to learn. The channel is not just a vessel for information. It's also about letting the channel improve as a person, as a being, which of course also makes you a better channel if you do. So, yeah.
Once you get the hang of channeling, and this is just step away from Bashar here for a quick second. Is it almost like being like all of a sudden your own energy becomes like a Kmart blue light special where every being out there now knows you know how to channel and may try to get through to you to get a message out?
Well, I would say maybe the ones that might be appropriate, sure. The ones that might be relevant for you, sure. Not every being is relevant for you. But if you become better at it, I'm sure it sort of turns on a light and people out there or beings out there or up there, down there, in there, know and can register that that's a possibility now, like another door is opened. But only the ones that are really relevant for you will be the ones that will make an approach.
Gotcha. All right.
It's still up to you to decide.
Okay. Let's get to Anthony in the UK. His question. He goes, I'm afraid of channeling. Are there any tips that you have on how to embrace this concept?
Well, first, let me go back to the idea that everyone naturally channels. Anytime that person has done anything that they love to do, they're in a channeling state. So in that sense, you've experienced the channeling state, Timothy. And it's not that big of a deal. You didn't even know you were doing it, probably. The idea of connecting to an entity, okay, I can understand that that might give people pause because, again, they might have definitions of the idea of what will happen and so on and so forth. But really, it's not something to be afraid of because, again, when you get into a channeling state, it's a vibratory frequency that, by definition, doesn't actually allow negative things to happen. If you experience something negative or fear-based, it's not because you were in the channeling state, it's probably because you left the channeling state and went down to a lower vibration because of the fear-based belief within you that something bad would happen. So you're totally in control of staying in that state. And again, because this is really nothing more than energy physics, you cannot experience something that you are not at the frequency of. So if you stay in the positive channeling state, you can only experience or attract positive things. The fear-based state might allow you to experience something different. Usually, in my experience, when people do experience those things, they're experiencing the shadow side of themselves more than they're experiencing some kind of outside negative entity. But the idea is that to practice channeling, if you really want to do it similar to the way that I do, I have found that it's actually easier if you have a group of people asking questions of the entity that they really need the answer to, because they act like a grounding circuit, pulling the information through you, and then you can just get out of the way and be a conduit and have whatever experience you're going to have being in that state. But you don't have to sit there and wonder if it's accurate, if you're looking silly or doing this or doing that. If you can channel to a group of people who really need to ask questions they want the answers to, it actually helps like complete a circuit and bring that information through you in a much smoother way. So if you want to practice this kind of channeling, you can do it that way and get better at it. Of course, there's all sorts of forms of this. There's automatic writing. There's things like reading tarot, cards, any form of connecting to the higher frequencies of your greater being or your own higher mind will put you in a channeling state, and it'll bring through whatever. Just raw information that you tap into. Whether you connect to another entity or not is not always necessary, because all of us have the ability to connect to the information in the same way the entities do. That's one of the things they're attempting to get across to us, is that we don't really need them to do this. And the more you practice, in a sense, paradoxically, the less you need them to get into that state. Like, for example, I'm starting to do all sorts of classes and lectures on my own. I've become my version, to a degree, of what I believe Bashar to be. So that's why there are certain questions that he can answer that I may not be able to. But in terms of all the principles he shares, I can go on for hours and hours and hours and hours doing seminars myself, because now I'm at a state where I understand the information enough to just let it flow. And I know how to get into my own channeling state without necessarily tapping into him or bringing him through, as every one of us can do, again, when we act on our passion, follow our bliss. It puts us in that state.
Mark is asking, when you are channeling, do you see different colors?
Yeah, it's like I'm falling into a daydream. Now, that's just me. There might be different things that people experience in different ways. I know there's an event going on. I know there's an interaction taking place. I'm not unconscious, but it's like falling into a very deep daydream. I can see patterns of energy, colors, images, sometimes literal, sometimes abstract. It depends on what Bashar is communicating, but I don't really hear or pay attention to the words. It's kind of like if you have a daydream, really deep in a daydream, and somebody walks into the room and they have to call your name 3 times before you even realize someone's talking to you. It's like that. The conversation that Bashar is having with a person might as well be happening in another house across the street. If I'm aware of it at all, it just sounds like a distant mumbling that's covered up. But I'm having my own experience, and my own experience of getting information that I need downloaded into me for me to use in my life is so much more overwhelming. One analogy I kind of often use in terms of the experience of the difference in energy between what I'm experiencing and what people are experiencing when Bashar is talking to them, it's like I'm standing under a pounding waterfall. I'm just being pounded by this energy. What people are getting is the spray. So my experience is so much stronger. It's like I have no reason to disconnect from it. I have no reason to pay attention to what Bashar is saying to them, because that's for them. I'm getting what I need out of it, and therefore it's kind of an all-consuming daydream with images and lights and patterns and colors that are its own language of symbolic representations of maybe what Bashar is talking about. Or if it's not something relevant for me, I can have a completely different conversation with him and get information for me, while at the same time he's also getting information for another person out there in the audience. So it's an interesting and unusual dynamic state of energy. Yeah, that's the best I can think of how to describe it.
I got a bunch of questions from our audience building up here. Do you mind if we continue with those?
Absolutely not.
All right.
Great.
All right, let's see here. Mary Jane is asking, do you have information on light workers and what they're all about?
Well, there's a lot of ways to interpret that idea. I think anyone who is pursuing the expansion of consciousness, the expansion of their connection to source and spirituality, in raising their vibration, in a sense, could be said to be a light worker. I don't necessarily know that I would limit it to a particular group of people. So it's really just anyone who pursues that path and wants to be more of themselves and takes those actions that are necessary for them to experience the expansion of their spirituality and their consciousness. And I think Bashar would simply refer to them as a light worker.
Very nice. Nicole is asking, Daryl, what's the best way to raise your vibration to get in the channeling field?
This is where Bashar's formula comes in, his 4-step formula that he also calls the instruction manual. There are 4 steps to this that are very simple, that have been distilled down into this formula by Bashar. This is not a philosophical suggestion from him. This is literally a description of how reality works, how we create our reality. So it's literally like an instruction manual, in the same way you would follow an instruction manual to operate a piece of machinery. I don't mean to make it sound cold by saying it that way, but it works very simply. The 4 steps and getting into that state and staying in that state are as follows. Number 1, anything that contains more excitement or more passion than any other option that you have the ability to act on it first before anything else. You act on it, number 2, to the best you can, taking it as far as you can until you can take it no further, either by circumstance or because the excitement wanes. You always have to make sure that you're not the one making the excitement go away with your own fear-based beliefs. But if it's naturally waning, that's your indication to look for the next thing, the next option, no matter how big, no matter how small, that you are able to act on that contains more excitement, even a little bit more excitement than any other option, and act on that next. Number 3, you take this action with absolutely no insistence, no assumption as to what the outcome should be. I know that many of us think we know what the best outcome is supposed to look like, but the truth is we often don't. So if we use the symbol of an ideal outcome as a visualization to get us into the excited state, but then drop that picture and don't insist on it, we actually remove a limitation and prevent the idea from being limited, because who knows, the ideal outcome might be many times more amazing than your physical mind was even capable of imagining. So no insistence, no assumption as to what the outcome should look like, just see what happens. Number 4, remain in a positive state no matter what manifests. Because even if something manifests that you objectively don't prefer, that's not a value judgment, just a recognition of vibrational incompatibility to something, it's still got to be there for a reason, because nothing is an accident. So if you stay in a positive state, even with something you don't prefer, you'll be able to use it in a way you do prefer and get a beneficial effect out of it. So, for example, at the most basic level, if nothing else, seeing something you don't prefer gives you an opportunity to compare, by contrast, that which you don't prefer to that which you do prefer. So it makes what you do prefer clearer by seeing what you don't prefer. That's a preferable way to use what you don't prefer, and it allows you to remain in a positive state so that you don't receive a negative benefit from that experience, but a positive one. So those 4 steps, acting on your passion, take it as far as you can, do the best you can with it, not insisting on the outcome and what it should look like, and remaining in a positive state no matter what, to get the benefit, activates a whole range of different kinds of tools in that kit. It becomes the driving engine of your life, giving you the energy to act on it. It becomes the organizing principle of synchronicity, bringing you those opportunities in exactly the order you need to act on them in perfect timing. It becomes the path of least resistance, removing effort and struggle from your life. It becomes the path of connection that connects you to all relevant expressions of your excitement that you need to act on in life. It becomes the path of pure relevance, which means it leaves absolutely nothing relevant out that needs to be attracted to you in your life. It becomes the path of support in bringing you whatever form of abundance, and there are many more than money, that you need in your life in order to keep acting on your excitement. And it brings you the reflective mirror that reveals to you, while you're acting on your excitement, something within your belief system that might be out of alignment with your excitement. So you can figure out what that is, you can let it go, you can add that energy to the momentum of your excitement and keep expanding and keep growing. This is, from Bashar's point of view, the entire instruction manual for how to live a creative life that is completely fulfilled. So those 4 steps automatically unfold those other tools I talked about. So the 4 steps are all you really have to remember, but more importantly than remembering them, it's very important to act on them. And I know that when you do, because I've experienced it myself, and I've heard from a lot of other people who've also applied these principles very precisely in their lives, it makes a big difference. And your life can turn into something much more creative, much more joyful, with less pain, less suffering, less fear. And therefore, I know that it actually works. And this is something I kind of wanted to go back to that you brought up earlier, Dave. And that is, this experience of channeling an entity. No one has to ever believe that Bashar is real. The most important thing is the information. And, for all I can prove, it could be another level of my own consciousness. I have no way of proving that Bashar is real. I have my own proofs, especially having seen the UFO twice, but that doesn't matter. It's the information that matters. And the thing you can prove is that the information works. So when people actually apply these 4 steps in their lives, it actually does make changes. And that's really the most important thing.
Darryl Anka is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 5 minutes to go here before we have to go to break. This actually leads into Mike's question here. He is asking, is every human on Earth here by choice then, or are we placed here to learn a lesson from past mistakes?
You are here by choice, by your own choice, to learn lessons, not necessarily from past mistakes, but to discover yourself from a new point of view. Because the process that happens on Earth, or at least has been for a long time, is you kind of forget who you are as a greater being. And the purpose of that is to remember who you are from a new perspective. That's how creation actually expands. The structure of existence never changes. What changes is your relationship to it, your perspective of it, your experience of it constantly changes. That's what's expanding in existence and in creation, but the structure never changes. So being here, being anywhere is by choice for your own reasons. If you feel it's a balancing act, that you have to bring something back into balance by having this experience, then fine. You could say, all right, I'm going to learn from past mistakes, but that's still your choice. You're not placed here by anyone but yourself, as far as I understand it, and as far as Bashar has explained it. But it's up to you to decide what to do with this experience.
Tina is asking, is there a difference between channeling, a psychic, or mediumship?
In some senses, no. It's only a matter of the way in which you sort of use the state of being you get into. So in channeling and mediumship, you're connecting vibrationally, matching frequencies with what appear to be either higher versions of yourself or other entities, whether they be physical or not. Psychic is sort of being on that same level, but just using it to read more of the general energy frequencies that are going on around you and determining what the probabilities are of something manifesting or not. To me, it's just a different way of using the state of being. It's like speaking a slightly different language with the tools that you have. It's a different discipline, a different way of interpreting existence, of energy, and so on and so forth.
All right. Julie is asking, Daryl, are both consciousness, aware at the same time?
Could you repeat that?
Oh, well, I think there's a word missing here because I'm reading it cold here. I think she's asking, is consciousness and awareness happening at the same time?
If that's what she's asking, I would say consciousness is self-awareness. It's like saying, everything is made of one thing. There is only one thing, and everything is a reflection of that one thing. The one thing by itself, let's say, and I know this is, using Earth terminology, so I know it's going to be a little bit crude or simplistic, but something that is one thing has no differentiation within it. It is unaware of itself. In order to actually have consciousness, self-awareness, you have to have some sense that there is something other than self as a reflection, so that there's a difference between the two. So you could say, in a sense, that the one thing had to have something within it that allowed it to experience itself as something other than the one. And that immediate reflection creates self-awareness and, in a sense, allows, let's say more precisely, for the expression of consciousness. I think consciousness is there to begin with, but what is consciousness if it's not aware of itself? There's no experience there. So the reflection of itself to itself, self-awareness, allows consciousness to be expressed.
All right,
I hope I answered that question, if that's what was being asked.
Let's sneak in one more question here from Human Carl, as we got about a minute left. All right, Human Carl is asking, Daryl, what do you think of Adronis, channeled by Brad Johnson?
I do not endorse any other channel, nor debate them, nor say they're good or bad or anything, because it's up to each person to decide what works for them. So I'm not going to recommend, endorse, or put down or say anything really about any other channel or any other entity. Everyone has to find their own path that works for them.
I think that's cool. I think that's a good, solid answer, an honest answer there, too. Thank you. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I can't determine what's right for anyone else, but if they're attracted to it, then obviously there's something there that works for them.
And on that note, we have about 15 seconds left, so I'm going to get you and our audience to hold on because we have Darryl Anka for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio as we will continue with hour number 3. We'll take more of your questions and we will, see what else we could fit in. It's going to be a jam-packed hour 3. Darryl Anka, his website, Bashar.org. You can check out everything that he does through the channeling of this multidimensional being named Bashar. We also have the Thought of the Day and the SOR Newswire coming up as well. More Spaced Out Radio in hour 3 next. All right, my friend, I'm going to quickly just step away for a couple minutes. I'll be right back, okay?
Okie doke.
We got about 6 minutes.
Okay.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye.
Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightline Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website, and let's figure out what's going on together.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world.
All right, my friend,
we
I
use
am
100% natural ingredients with our...
Me too.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Everything is awesome.
So is our crowd. We got a good crowd in here tonight.
You do. You do. Good questions.
All right. Hey, D. Swigger, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. Appreciate you coming on in, along with all the regulars that are here. 122 people right now watching on YouTube alone.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Hello, Cabasa Nova. Good to have you here. All right. Hey, RPG, welcome back. Let's see here. Who else is here? We've got about 45 seconds, my friend. I'll reintroduce the show, reintroduce you, and then when we get to the bottom of the hour, when I say goodnight to you, just hold off for a couple of seconds, don't hang up, and then I'll say a proper goodnight to you during the break, because I kind of like to do that rather than, you know, I know a lot of shows out there, they're like oh, you don't know whether you're supposed to hang up or not. So we always like.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate you telling me.
It's a little things, man, that we try and do different around here.
It is.
For sure. For sure. All right, about 15 seconds.
Okay.
Oh. All right, about 5 seconds.
Bumblefoot hot sauce.
If you're new to our channel, don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you don't mind. Hit that subscribe button. We'd appreciate it.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember to check out our archives. They are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Somnolescent. Somnolescent is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. On Twitter, you could follow us at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Darryl Anka. Channeling Bashar has been the topic of the night, where we learn all about channeling, what the messages are. We're taking a bunch of questions from the audience. If you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, you can always join in as well. Darryl's website is bashar.org. Daryl, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Once again, absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, let's get back to some audience questions here. Evasius is asking, how does Bashar, or you, Daryl, recommend we deal with addictions that we want to get rid of?
Well, again, it's about responsibility and understanding the mechanism behind that. As Bashar has explained it, most addictions have to do with feeling that there's something missing, that there's an empty space within the self. And you're trying to fill that space, but you don't know what to fill it with. So instead of connecting to the idea of your self-empowerment and filling it with your connection to source, it's about looking for things in the physical realm that can either feel temporarily like it fills it, or numb it out to the point where you don't have to deal with it so that you're not in pain anymore. So the idea, I think, in general, as he's described it, is to find that thing, that belief that prevents you from feeling your fulfilling connection to your own power, to know that you're a self-empowered being, that you're not a victim, that you're not empty, that you're not disconnected, not really. Even though you may experience disconnection, you can't actually be disconnected. It's helping people learn things like that can start them on a path back to more wholeness, where they understand that they don't have an emptiness within them that needs to be filled with something or needs to be numbed with something that prevents them from dealing with it, because then they can be in denial that it even exists. It's about getting in touch with those fear-based beliefs, finding out what they're telling you, and really paying attention to know that they're telling you things that really have nothing to do with who you truly are as a powerful being, as a reflection of creation. Now, I know that's oversimplified at the moment because we don't have a lot of time to go into it. Bashar's talked about many other ideas of how to handle the concept of addiction, but that's the beginning of it, is to really understand that you're never really disconnected. You can create a sense of disconnection and disempowerment, but you actually have to be connected and powerful to do that.
All right, let's move on here. Chris is asking, do you have a ritual, or can you drop in and out of channeling at will?
Well, a lot of it has to do, again, with timing. I mean, certainly as myself, I can go into a channeling state when I'm delivering information anytime that I so desire. With regard to connecting to Bashar, there are appropriate times to do that and other times that are just simply not appropriate to do it. But after 37 years, it's a very automatic sensation for me. In fact, on the rare occasion I might be seeing another channel at another seminar, the energy when they go into their altered state, I'm so used to feeling that energy that I actually have to purposely hold myself out of the state so I don't automatically just drop into it too, because of the sympathetic vibration of another channel going into that state. So it's very automatic to me at this point, although early on it took much longer. And the ritual would mostly be going through relaxing my body, going through the different emotions and just kind of letting things go, maybe even seeing different colors. It's different for everyone. But at this point, if it's really the appropriate time for me to do so, whether it's Bashar or not, I can connect into it sort of just like falling into, something natural that I've learned to do. It's just an automatic shift at this point.
We have a number of people asking, can we channel when we are sleeping?
Well, that's to me a different thing, because you may be connecting, you may be matching harmonics and frequencies with other beings when you're sleeping, if you're in astral form out of your body, so to speak, or visiting other dimensions, having other experiences. But that's more like it's something that's actually happening in another reality, in another dimension. Channeling to me is a link or a bridge between realities. So in a sense, the classic sense of channeling would be you would have to be in this reality forming a link and a bridge with something in another level of reality, rather than actually just jumping over to that reality yourself, because then it's just like you're visiting, not channeling.
Interesting. Can you, when you were channeling, travel anywhere you want?
Well, I'm not traveling. I can experience different things. Like I said, okay. I can have a different conversation with Bashar, but I'm there. It's just that I'm in an altered state and experiencing different things. I can download different kinds of information. Now, it may be possible that some channels might actually be able to do a form of projection or astral travel or something like that while they're in the channeling state. That's not been my personal experience. So I don't go anywhere. I'm just in an altered state experiencing things in a very different way.
All right. Well, the reason why I'm asking is, like, if you wanted to all of a sudden see any of the civilizations that people claim to be in Orion's belt that are Anunnaki, or to go to the Pleiades to see what the Pleiadians are doing, can you do that in a channeling session?
Well, Bashar can show me images of those things. He can bring those images to my attention without me having to actually literally go anywhere. So I can experience it as if I'm there, but I don't think I'm actually going there per se. I may shift my vibration and in a sense be in an altered state that's representative of that reality. I suppose in that sense, you could say, in matching that harmonic, I can quote unquote go there. But in the physical sense, I think it's mostly a shift in energy that allows me to experience something as if I'm there, more than the idea of actually literally physically being there.
Have you ever been injured while channeling?
I have. I sometimes hit, sometimes I'll channel, not so much anymore, but in chairs that have arms. And Bashar often my hands are moving around as a representation of something he might be saying or whatever. And one time I know my elbow cracked on the arm of the chair loud enough that later on I found out the audience gasped. I didn't feel a thing until I came out, and then my elbow was really painful. But in the channeling state, one of the things we discovered when my head was wired to the brainwave machine is that the pain centers in the brain shut off. So I don't usually feel a thing, even though things like that on rare occasions have happened. Now, one other thing that happened once was as I began to go into the channeling state, I suddenly had a sensation very identical to being hit in the head with something very hard. Bashar explained that at that point in my life, the reason for that is there was too much sugar in my system, and my vibration was more incompatible with his vibration than it had been. And therefore, that's what would happen if I let my vibration get too far off the mark of what was healthy for me. So those are two incidents where I did feel a sensation at the beginning of a channeling, but I didn't feel a sensation during the channeling until I came out, when I actually did a physical thing that injured me.
I bruised my chest to the point where I thought I was having a heart attack.
During a channeling?
Yeah. Yeah. I was channeling.
Did you feel it at the time?
Oh, yeah. I was channeling
Oh, you felt it. Okay.
Yeah, I was channeling for a friend of mine named Samantha Mowat, and she wanted me to see if I could see the Pleiades. So I went into my channeling session and went and saw this. It was just like zoomed right into this world. And I'd never seen a building like this before. The buildings there was one big building that I was shown. It was very, very tall. To me, it seemed like it was miles high. It was like aquamarine in color, like a teal aquamarine building that was edged out in gold trimmings. I didn't see any beings or any people or aliens, whatever you want to call them. And then coming back is when I was injured, because, it was almost like when they were whoever it was that took me there was bringing me back. And when you're watching like Star Trek or Star Wars, where they go through the speed warp, where all of a sudden all the stars become like a light tunnel and you race through that tunnel. Yeah. Well, we went through something similar like that in like a hyperspace. And Samantha, my partner, both watched me kind of straighten up, almost like the G-forces were sucking me back. And I felt, when all of a sudden I landed back in my body, I felt this big thump and my entire chest was sore, and I started coughing. And I guess I coughed so heavily that I bruised my chest. And a couple days later, I was still so concerned about it. I thought I was having a heart attack. And I actually went to the emergency room to get x-ray, or I go in there and I'm like, I think I may be having some heart troubles, maybe a heart attack. I don't know. My family doctor happened to be working in the emergency room that night or that day. And he comes up to me and he goes, your chest is all bruised. He goes, he goes, how did you do this? And I said, Doc, you're not going to believe me. I'm not even going to tell you. He goes, try me.
Right. But so you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you tell him?
I told him.
All right. What did he say?
He goes, you're right. I don't believe you.
I don't believe you. Right. But see, you didn't experience that till you came back.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You didn't experience it during the thing. Did you experience it when you were back?
Yeah, it was when they almost put me back in my body, if I can use that term. I don't know how else to explain that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But during the experience, you were just having the experience.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So, yes, I actually have on record my injury.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I thought so. All right. Yeah. Let's.
I mean, not that you have to be injured.
No,
but...
No, I didn't. My chest hurt for a couple of weeks, so I know that.
Right, but see, that was in a sense kind of like leaving you with some sense of proof that something actually happened unusual to you, so that you could kind of get a sense of the reality of it,
Absolutely.
The physical reality of having done something. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, sometimes those things will happen. Yeah.
Mike is asking you a question here, if you don't mind. He is asking, has Bashar ever told you about whether or not there is any truth to the tales of the Anunnaki, gods and aliens breeding with humans in the past?
Yes, he has, and he said of course, not necessarily all of the information is accurate, but he said, yes, it's generally true. We are already hybridized.
No kidding.
As Homo sapiens.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's part of the bigger story. And again, there may be some misinterpretations about some of those things, but in general, yes, he has said that's an accurate depiction of what happened somewhere between 300 and 500,000 years ago.
Very cool. Very cool. Ross is asking, Mr. Anka, have you met any lion-type races?
I have not, and I don't think Bashar has ever spoken about that. I don't think he's ever been asked about that. So I've never seen an image in my mind when he's channeling through me of those kinds of beings.
What does Bashar think of this current round of potential UFO/alien disclosure that is going on?
Well, he's said that it is actually the very beginnings of disclosure, that we are finally arriving at a point where we're starting to admit that these beings, these craft exist. We're not necessarily always saying, oh, yes, it's extraterrestrial, but we're starting to publicly admit that there's something going on. So he's saying it's the very, very early stages of disclosure. And, he thinks that's a positive sign.
What does he think about in regards to the fact that there is a complete, in my opinion, and I could be wrong about this, but just in what I see and many others do, that there's a complete narrative that is going on here that is very, very enclosed by government officials, ex-spooks who we've been told not to trust, but now we're supposed to trust them with this realm of disclosure, or this incarnation of disclosure. What's Bashar's thoughts on that?
Well, again, he doesn't dive too deeply into conspiracy theories, but yes, there have been people that have been keeping a lot of that information under wraps. But he's also said there are people now on the inside who are attempting to get that information out. There's a definite difference of opinion going on the inner circles that are involved with this stuff. And ideally, the information will come out in a way that benefits us and not something that gets manipulated in a different way, in a negative way. He doesn't go too deeply into that, except to acknowledge that there are degrees of that are happening. Again, he will say some of the stories are a little bit exaggerated, But overall, generally, yes, we are having a difference of opinion in our collective consciousness about which way we want to go with this, what's positive, what's negative, what's fear-based, what's joy-based, and it's causing an actual split into different parallel realities. So those that are on a particular vibrational path will ultimately experience one reality that may have open contact. Those that are not necessarily wanting to experience that path will not experience that. They'll experience a different version of Earth. But right now we're seeing the overlap of a multitude of different versions of Earth so that we can make up our minds as to which version that we would like to experience. So a lot of that is going on. Again, it's kind of a deep and complex answer to that question. It's not a simple answer, but that is the simplistic version of it that I can give in the time that we have.
All right, we got less than 5 minutes to go here on Spaced Out Radio. Darryl Anka is our guest tonight on the show, channeling Bashar. Looking towards the future, whether it's with future ET contact, whether it's with UFOs, or just the idea of where humankind is heading, are we ever going to see positivity again and people trusting each other again? Are we getting to that point?
Well, I believe we will. This is kind of what I was saying, is this is the opportunity for us to decide now what kind of a world we would like to experience. But again, it's not that we change the world we're on. It's that we change ourselves and shift to another already existing version of Earth that is more reflective of the change we made within ourselves. That's what Bashar is saying. There's already a multitude of simultaneously existing versions of Earth right now in a multiverse of parallel realities. We are navigating ourselves with the choices we make in the direction of whatever version of Earth is actually more representative of what we prefer. But people who are necessarily holding on to fear-based beliefs won't experience the same version of Earth that other people do who are willing to let go of those fears. So there will be a multitude of experiences, and it just depends on sort of what train track you're on as to what destination you arrive at, and this is the time to make those decisions.
Okay, so is it made, those decisions made individually, or are they made by the political side that seems to be in complete upheaval everywhere in the world right now, especially in the Western civilized world?
They are made individually and collectively. It just depends on what you align with and what you don't align with that determines what direction you navigate in. So you look at the things that other people are making as choices. You decide whether or not it's a choice that's aligned with your compatibility, what you prefer to see or do, and then you make the choices to act in the direction that you prefer, like a citizen of the world you would prefer to live in. And that makes the difference and helps navigate you in the other direction. Bashar says, just because you can see other people making choices you would never make doesn't mean those choices can actually affect you. He sort of created this analogy. If we're splitting into parallel realities now, we're able to see realities that we do not vibrate in accord with, in alignment with. But just because you can see them, it's like there's a glass wall between you. And you can see through the glass wall, and you can see choices that people are making that you don't align with, but the effect of those choices can't reach you. You're actually in a different reality. So don't be fooled by the fact that just because you can see people making choices you don't prefer, don't be fooled in thinking that you actually exist in the same reality that they do.
All right. We have about 90 seconds left here on Spaced Out Radio with you tonight. And I want to say a big thank you for you coming on down and spending some time with us, explaining channeling, talking about Bashar, and introducing our audience to Bashar if they were not familiar with what you do. Do us a favor. Let our audience know where they can find more information about you, Bashar, and maybe some courses.
Well, again, all of the public events and private sessions can be found at bashar.org, BASHAR.org. If people are interested in either the novels or filmmaking, they can go to DarrylAnka.com, DarryLANKA.com. Our production company is Zia Films, ZIAFILMS.com. And between those, they can probably find out everything that we're doing, either looking at some of the movies we've made or looking at some of the recordings of Bashar's information. Whatever they are attracted to do, they can find on those sites.
I really do appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for coming on in and enjoying your night. And your phone lasted. Your phone battery saved us tonight.
It did. It's functioning perfectly. It's not even halfway down.
Oh, that worked out very well then. Very well. Well, thank you so much, Daryl.
So, yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so very much.
Darryl Anka, everybody. Remember his website, Bashar.org, if you want to learn more about what he is all about, what Bashar is all about. It is a very, very interesting site. It goes into many, many different directions. So I think you'd be pretty happy with that if you check it on out. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. More Spaced Out Radio coming up next. Great show, Daryl. Thank you so much for doing that and being very part of the participation with our audience as well.
Oh, absolutely. That's fun. I love doing that. It's always interesting to see where they're coming from and what questions they're asking and stuff like that. So it's been a lot of fun. I really, really do appreciate you doing this and having me on as a guest.
Absolutely. Love to do it again, my friend. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. No problem. Let me know.
All right, buddy. Take care.
You have a wonderful evening.
Enjoy your evening,
too.
Take
care. Stay warm.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye.
What a nice guy. Honestly, what a nice guy. Fantastic dude. Fantastic dude. Bashar. I don't think I've ever talked so much about my own channeling experiences on this show like I did tonight. There's a number more that are out there. But no, it's kind of cool. I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that. Thank you again to Corrence the booking guy for doing another fantastic job. Corrence the booking guy. Hey, little Richie G, what's happening? What is happening? I'm a fan of the G, man. Total fan of the G. Okay, why is this not loading? Let's go here. Oh, there we go. Oh, that little bastard. I'm going to get him on here, too. Lucky little bastard. All right. What do we got? Yeah, we're safe there. We'll go with that one. Make sure that's muted. All right. What else does Shirky Poo have for us here tonight? All right. That one. That one. Excuse me. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. What is this one? That's a cool story right there, too. All right. I think we're ready. Oh, you suplex away there, Richie G. You suplex the shit out of whoever you need to, man. You make sure you do that. Oh. My nose is still sore, too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do-do. Do-do. Excuse me. Do-do. 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 Hey, I am alive in the future. Right on. Right on. Thanks, Team Train Mark. Appreciate that. We got 35 seconds. 35 seconds. Hey, Chemical, good to have you here. All right. Let's go like this.
Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
All right, let's do this thing. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us and being in attendance for tonight's show. Even though we don't take roll call, maybe we should one night. Take roll call. Who's here? Carl, are you here? Not human Carl, but Carl the alien. Are you around? No. Anyways, if you want to check out our free archives, go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news. It's that time once again where we bring you the SOR Newswire, where we get into the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the completely dreadful. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna let you know if anybody is maybe heard a difference in my voice or been hearing my nose kind of squeaking all night on the microphone. I'll tell you why. I decided last night. My little guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, Daddy, let's have a wrestling match." So, of course, I'm going to do that, right? Because I got to show the kid who's boss. And in the midst of, trying to move him laterally from a laying down scissors position where I was squeezing his body over to, getting ready to prepare to give him a good, ankle lock, he brings up his foot. And what do? I bring my head up. Heel meet foot, or pardon me, heel meet nose, which means I heard a big crack. Yeah, about the fourth time that my nose is broke. Yeah, wasn't fun. So my nose has been sore. I'm feeling a little nasally right now. So if you're wondering why I'm sounding or potentially sounding a little bit different tonight, it's because my kid broke my nose. By the way, just so all you hockey fans know, I'm doing some high quality parenting right now. All right, teaching my son how to drop the gloves. And that's kind of what started off the wrestling match last night. Yeah. So showing him where to grab on the jersey. showing them how to throw a good straight punch rather than, kids, they always want to come around. No, we got to go straight. I'm trying to do what's right. Trying to do what any good Canadian parent should do with their child who plays hockey. Teach them how to fight. Yes, I can see the hate mail coming in now. A 20-year-old woman who was legally declared dead by authorities. Well, she's at the funeral home, and apparently she's still alive after being transported. The woman was found unresponsive and not breathing at a home in Southfield, Michigan this past weekend. Yeah, apparently paramedics performed CPR, attempted another life-reviving method for about half an hour before medical readings determined at the time that she did not have any signs of life. At that point, based on real-time medical data research, such as a heartbeat and breathing, the woman was declared dead via phone by an emergency room doctor at a nearby hospital. Bill Mullen, a spokesperson for the Oakland County Medical Examiner's Office, said that they were seeing medical data known as telemetry is standard operating procedure. Once the woman was declared dead, the Southfield Fire Department contacted the medical examiner's office. The forensic pathologist on duty determined that based on what the emergency room physician said and the woman's previous medical history, her body should be released to her family and did not need to undergo further forensic examination. Yeah, it was at James H. Cole Home for Funerals in Detroit that staff members made the shocking realization that the woman was still alive and breathing. After receiving clearance from the Oakland County Medical Examiner's Office, she was transported to our funeral home. The funeral home said in a statement, upon her arrival at the funeral home, our staff confirmed she was breathing and called EMS. She was then transported to hospital where her condition remains unknown. The fire department, who did not immediately respond for media requests, said the woman's identity will not be released as to respect her family's privacy. Don't you hate it when people say privacy? That bugs me. Anyways, everyone's scratching their head on this one. I just want to know where she was. Where did she go during that time? This is kind of cool. All right. Earlier this year, astronomers announced a dazzling discovery, a fast radio burst called FRB 121102. It wasn't just repeating, it was repeating on a discernible cycle. For around 67 days, the source is silent. Then for around 90 days, it wakes up again, spitting out repeated millisecond radio flares before falling silent again. And the whole 157-day cycle then repeats. However, fast radio bursts are extremely mysterious, and there was no guarantee that the cycle would continue. So it's pretty exciting news that the source has flared up again, right on cue, consistent with predictions of its activity cycle. This suggests that there is significant value in monitoring known fast radio bursts, but also continuing to watch FRB 121102 to try to understand what could be causing this phenomena. Quick refresher, fast radio bursts, as the name suggests, bursts of radio waves that are very fast, just a few milliseconds long, coming from galaxies millions to billions of light years away. But they are also extremely powerful. Within those milliseconds, they can discharge as much power as hundreds of millions of suns. Most of the time, they flare once, and we have not heard from them since, making them impossible to predict and very difficult to trace. And we don't really know what causes them, although recent evidence points pretty strongly to a type of neutron star called magnetars. Why can't they just say aliens? It's aliens, okay? It's always aliens. It's terrible that the magnetars... No, it's freaking aliens, man. But a handful of fast radio burst sources have been detected repeating because it's aliens, and aliens would do that kind of thing just to tickle our fancy. And these could be one of the keys that helps at least partially solve the mystery. Before its cycle was discovered, University of Manchester astronomer Kaustubh Rajawade and his team, FRB 121102, was already famous for being the most active fast radio burst discovered yet, spitting out repeated bursts since 2012. Because of its repeats, astronomers could watch for activity and trace it to a source in our galaxy. It was the first fast radio burst to be localized to a star-forming region in a dwarf galaxy 3 billion light years away. This discovery of periodicity in its activity based on 5 years worth of data could play some important constraints on what it could be. How about aliens? Can we just start with aliens? It's much easier. Much, much easier. All right, moving on. The Canadian Football League, which I absolutely love, has announced that it will allow fans the unique opportunity to have their names etched on a new base for the Grey Cup, called the Grey Cup Fan Base. I love this. For a fee, fans can get their names inscribed on the new base, which will hold the Grey Cup trophy at all public appearances. That fee is $349 for season ticket holders until August 30th. Starting August 31st, the fee goes up to $399, and all fans can participate. The base will be made from Canadian maple and aluminum. Man, does it get any more Canadian than that? The Grey Cup Fan Base is a great innovative idea that is supported by the players as a way to connect our passionate fans even closer to our game, said Solomon Elamimian, president of the CFLPA. It not only recognizes and celebrates our fans, but it connects our players, our fans, and the teams across the league in a meaningful way. This fan support initiative will help us through 2020 and into 2021 as we look to come back stronger than ever before. I love this idea. I have partied with the Grey Cup, and trust me, I know a lot of Americans don't realize this. The Grey Cup is literally over 100 years old. It is a beautiful trophy. It's been kicked around, fallen apart, snapped off in half. It's been beautiful. It's a beautiful trophy, and I got to party with it one night. One night. It was a great, great night. Thank you to the BC Lions for that night. Yes. Okay. Speaking of space, remember the headlines about the asteroid heading towards Earth and perhaps the most opportune time during a terrible year? November 2nd, the day before the presidential election, it sounded too good to be true, an asteroid to wipe us all out before what would surely be a very contentious election process. This so-called dangerous asteroid, dubbed 2018 VP1, has a 0.41% chance of actually crossing paths with Earth on November 2nd, entering our atmosphere. Incredibly low odds, they're saying. And even if it did take a turn to hit us, no one would be in danger. The asteroid is a measly 2 meters or 6.5 feet across, making it slightly smaller than a compact smart car. If it did hit our atmosphere, it would completely disintegrate above us and pose no threat to anyone below. For reference, much larger satellites and space debris enter our atmosphere from time to time, burning up above us without affecting anyone to the ground. Boy, is this story just taking the dramatics out of everything. I'm almost depressed reading this. I understand it's 2020. The year is just of fully incredibly bad odds, so it would have been very poetic for the asteroid to threaten to kill us all right before the U.S. election. But the thing is, asteroids whiz by Earth all the time. Sometimes they get a little too close for comfort. Other times, not so much. Another small asteroid between 10 and 20 feet across made the closest approach to Earth ever recorded by a known Earth asteroid on August 16th. Coming within 1,830 miles or 2,950 kilometers, that one was so small, it was small enough that it would burn up in the atmosphere had it managed to cross Earth's path, but astronomers didn't spot it until 6 hours after it had passed by. NASA notes, it's hard to detect asteroids this small since they are moving fast, and there's only a short window to spot them when they get close to Earth. Rest assured, NASA is committed to spotting and tracking the asteroids that do pose potential threats to our planet. NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies, located at Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, has a goal of cataloging more than 90% of all asteroids near Earth that are larger than 1 kilometer or 2/3 of a mile across, as well as finding significant fractions of asteroids that are larger than 140 meters or about 460 feet wide. The center uses a wide array of ground-based telescopes to track these objects, keeps a catalog of them as well. How's this for being an exciting day for these kids? Youths volunteering at an archaeological dig in central Israel have found 425 gold coins that had laid buried in a clay jar for 1,100 years. Most of the money dates back to the early Islamic period when the region was part of the Abbasid Caliphate. The coins weighed about 30 ounces and would literally be worth a huge sum when they were buried, enough to buy a luxurious home in one of the Caliphate cities. Who owned the cash and why they never returned to collect it is still a mystery. The person who buried the treasure 1,100 years ago must have expected to retrieve it and even secure the vessel with a nail so that it could not move. The director of the excavation said, yeah, they added, finding gold coins certainly is such a considerable quantity is extremely rare. We almost never find them in archaeological excavations, given that gold has always been extremely valuable, melted down and reused from generation to generation. The youth who discovered the hoard, Oz Cohen, said it was amazing. I dug in the ground, and when I excavated the soil, saw that what looked to be very thin leaves. When I looked at it again, I saw they were gold coins. Robert Kuhl, a coin expert, said the cache consisted of full gold dinars, but also 270 small gold cuttings, pieces of dinars cut to serve as small change. He added that one of the cuttings was a fragment of a gold solidus of the Byzantine Empire Theophilus, minted in Constantinople, which was a rare material evidence of the continuous connections between the two rival empires during this period. Good for that kid. How exciting is that? Cute story here. Yeah. This one is one of the few times it's okay to call the delivery worker a good girl. A Chick-fil-A in North Carolina recently released footage of a customer coming to pick up their order. Instead of walking up to the restaurant, however, the man sends a personal helper to pick up his food. Who? His beloved dog. The fast food chain's location in Chapel Hill shared a video online of the dog picking up the order and carrying it back to her owner on its Facebook page. Apparently, the customer and his dog are regular customers at the Chick-fil-A. The post is captioned, "Using our mobile app for curbside delivery has never been more fun or easy. Just ask Ellie. She loves running to meet the team member delivering her food and carrying it back to her owner, Nick, who waits in their curbside space." According to the restaurant, Nick said that grabbing the food is Ellie's favorite thing to do. The post concludes, "It's our favorite thing to serve yummy food to happy guests, four-legged guests included. Place your mobile curbside order today and make your favorite part of the day getting your Chick-fil-A just like Ellie." I hope they give the dog like a hamburger or something like that. The post has been shared over 23,000 times, 13,000 plus comments. Based on the replies, it seems that many of the commenters were most impressed that Ellie didn't stop halfway through the parking lot and just eat the Chick-fil-A herself. Hopefully, Ellie will be paid for her work in dog biscuits or at least some waffle fries. I've never had Chick-fil-A. Never. Now this kid here, yeah, I am so never taking this kid on in golf. A 4-year-old boy in West Virginia has some pretty good golf skills, and they're being praised after his father shared a video of the young prodigy hitting a hole-in-one. Mario Figueretti said his 4-year-old son Rocco was taking on Ogle Bays Park's par 3 course when he hit a ball that landed just short of the green and rolled directly into the cup. The proud father shared the video of the hole-in-one on his Facebook page. "He practices all the time in the yard. To say I'm proud would be an understatement." Figueretti said the youngster started golfing shortly after he turned 3. He swings right-handed with a left-handed grip, and it works for him, so I don't think we're going to switch it, he says. "It's just been really fun watching him develop a love for the game because he really does spend a lot of time out here in the year hitting golf balls." Oh, this kid just pisses me off. Played golf for 25 years. Best thing I ever did was quit golf, and now a 4-year-old is sinking hole-in-ones. Incredible. Incredible. I don't like it. I don't like it. Good for the kid, though. Golf is so good. It's not for me. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because why? What? It's because we love the audience participation around here. What? Yeah. Today's Thought of the Day. What's your thoughts on channeling spirits for paranormal communication? Do 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 do. Love that song. Marty, one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show. We love you, Marty. He says, I think it's great. And if you get a spirit you don't like, you just change the channel. Very nice, Marty. Very nice. Change the channel. Good stuff. All right, moving on. Where are we here? Galen. It has its uses, if done sensibly and with experienced persons. Done sensibly. Is that like having a drink at the restaurant? You know, it's good to have a drink every now and again if you drink sensibly and with experienced people. Okay, moving on. Voices and entities, including our own, are part of the dark energy plasma field, according to Jay. Our brains are like radios connected to a stream from various sources we call the self. If we alchemize the body, we could shift to different streams. Whether it's positive or negative depends on the nature of the energetic, emotional shift of the body. And sometimes the other streams have bodies that we call ETs and UFOs. Nikki. There's a gigantic difference between what some inexperienced people consider channeling and what is mediumship abilities. Channeling is allowing a spirit or entity to fully enter your body and brain to use it for specific purposes, usually to express vast amounts of information rather than quickly, where the body can change voices and appearances. However, the spirit or entity, if it doesn't have morals or boundaries, can do whatever it chooses to do with that body and mind. It is not something to be taken lightly to allow. Personal opinion, too freaking dangerous to allow any being into your body or mind. Davey, I prefer to drink my spirits than channel them. Gabe, not a good idea. Ken, not wise. God says don't do it in biblical texts. Remember Saul and the Witch of Endor? Gail, danger, danger. Her favorite 80s rock group, by the way. Why would you want some other entity inside of you? It's hard enough to manage me. I don't want anything else in here mucking things up. Oh, Gail. Oh, my. Oh, my. Moving on. Sparkles. The Seth material has been the only channeling that has rung authentic to me. Kira. If you could maintain sovereignty over what you channel, then maybe. Quincy, what else could be more natural? Annie, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Daryl, how do you know that spirit is who it claims to be? Elizabeth Anglin gets the final word. Spirit condoms, astral projection for discerning spirit medium. Sorry, somebody took over my fingers and typed the above inappropriate joke. I forgot to get my pack last time I went to the metaphysical store. Oh, we love you, Liz. We love you around here. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day. We will do it all again tomorrow, so make sure you join us on Facebook and Twitter so we can read your responses. Also to Captain Shirk for the SOR Newswire, which can be found on our website, spacedoutradio.com. And of course, to Darryl Anka for coming on in and channeling Bashar with us. There we go. I'm excited for tomorrow night as well. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody participating in our chat rooms on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club on our website, and to all the snarkers and snarkettes hanging out at Spaced Out Radio with a hashtag in front of that on Twitter. All of you were amazing tonight. Thank you for a fun show. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train is docked for the night, but tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, guess what? We have room for them too. Good night. That's a good show, people. Good solid radioing right there. Good solid radioing right there. Good for you guys. You guys did well. You really did well. Good job, people. Good job. All right, let's go. Y'all. Oh, Jules. Oh, my. Take me home. Eva, you do not sleep in a suitcase, you weirdo. Mm-hmm. Do 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 do. Fuck yeah, Roy. Fuck yeah. Take us home. Hell yeah, brother. Oh yeah. Love them. Do 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 do. Hey Dave, you could pretend I gave you $50 and show my buddy your TTs. I'm not doing that. It's $100, man. Fuck, what do you think I am? Cheap? Oh, $50 for my boobies. Not a hope. $100 minimum. That's just for one. Double it up if you want two. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm back. Do 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 do. Where's my guest file? There they are. All right. All right, let's rock and roll here. I wonder where Spookles the cat was tonight. Didn't see her in here tonight. Copy. A little bit further than that because I think I screwed that up. All right. This one may require some editing. That goes there. Cut that. And then we're going to cut that and go to here. All right, that works. Good edit on that side, Dave. Good job. Let's make sure. Good. Oh yeah, Andrew. Totally gotta thank you for getting a Team Stump t-shirt, man. Appreciate that. Knew it. Knew it. Oh, no way. Andrew, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Totally appreciate that. Thank you for getting those shirts, man. Wow, that's kind of cool. Send me some pics, man. Love to see you rocking them. Davey, what secrets you want to tell or want to know? Ask away. It's a good time as any. Doo-doo. I think Lou is the first ever publicized Man in Black. That's my opinion. Lou Elizondo is who Nicole is talking about. What the hell is going on here? Do that. Copy that. Good night, Jenny. Good night, Jenny. Good night, Chris Mo. Thanks for coming in, man. What is your secret behind your beauty? How do you do it? Dude, I am not attractive whatsoever. I'm a solid 5.3 out of 10, man. Solid 5.3 out of 10. And you only get to see this part up. Where did that file thing go? Ah, there it is. Tomorrow we have Nathaniel Gillis chasing demons or hunting demons. Listen to PBR. Nothing! You asked him nothing! It's because you kept on wanting me to ask about Benowitz, and that wasn't the topic of the conversation. We were totally into something else. So you could go back and listen to the replay. It was not nothing. We were asking him pertinent information as to what was going on. Not nothing! Nothing! You asked him nothing! Is that better? Fuck, Julie. Lies, Dave. You were sex on a stick. Oh my goodness. You asked him nothing. Go back and listen to the episode. I asked him everything. Just because your question about Benowitz, it wasn't pertinent to the conversation. Do 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 do. Where did that end up over there? Get back over here. Oh, while we're waiting for this, let's go here. Hi, Cashew. It's a new chess game, but the pieces still move in the game. You got that right, Nicole. This other day, my rambling thoughts led me to wonder if aliens eat. Did you watch HR Puffin stuff? No. Hey, Davin, I sent you a message back regarding the message you sent me on Instagram. Which one? Hold on one second here. That goes there. So I don't know if that helps or not, but I did respond. All right. Oh, wrong button. Wrong button. Wrong button. Let's see what our verification code is for tonight. All right, 799110. 799110 is our password for our verification code for tonight. No, I'm not going bald. My hair is growing back fast, though. Totally is growing back fast. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. It would be nice to have some aliens. Totally nice to have some aliens. Has the haircut affected your psychic abilities? I don't know. I haven't really practiced those recently. Haven't really practiced. I've been a bad guy. I don't have time. That's my problem. I don't have time. Every time I think I have time, something more comes up and something else comes up, and I just don't have time. I don't get a lot of weird shit happening anymore. Kind of sucks. Good tune, Cat Chaser. Dave Scott. As being a third, it helped bump our channel subscriptions up when we first appeared on there. It helped bump our channel subscription up by a couple hundred. So, what are we at now? Let me check. Let's see here. Let's go to our studio, see where we are. We're at 8,588 people. Let's see here. That's kind of cool. That's really kind of cool. My nose is still sore, dude. It's like sore. I had to move my septum over. It's not feeling very good. It's definitely broken again. It's like shit happens though. Do 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 do. Let's go here. Is that the same guy? Fuck, it is too. Weird. That is really interesting. There's a Canadian politician, okay, who currently serves in the House of Commons, which would be like, I guess the equivalent to your Senate or Congress, or I don't know. I always get that confused. Anyways, he's like adds me on Twitter, and then now he's following us on YouTube as well. I'm going to hit him up. I am totally going to hit him up. I'm very curious. I was thinking about that the other day, whether or not I should, and now I'm fully convinced that I need to. Fully convinced. And my nose is sore. My nose is really sore. Bow, bow. Hey, Victor, how you doing, man? Hey, little Marky Spender, what are you still doing awake, man? What are you still doing awake? Oop, wrong email. Oh, you just got home from work, little Marky Spender. Hope your night was good. Remember, Sunday we're going out, man. We're going riding. See if we could get some Bigfoot action out there, man. Wanted some Bigfoot action. Vector's working on some commitments. Here's another message. Well, thank you, Davey. I love you too, brother. Love you too. And we are all downloaded for the night. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Oh, yes. Good old Corrence, the booking guy. Corrence, we got to get this weekend. We got to get September up on my calendar. Oh, they always traveling together. Me too, man. Me too. Which reminds me, on Thursday, my day off, I'm going to get firewood. Then this coming, I gotta start maybe tomorrow or something where I have to practicing on a documentary that I have to voice over. PBR, she doesn't have a fake tour. Just because you don't believe in it doesn't mean you have to insult everything, okay? It's not a fake tour. So before you start calling things fake, why don't you go take her tour and see if it's fake for your own eyes rather than relying on internet comments. No, what's sad, PBR, is the fact that you haven't taken the tour, you don't know, and just because you don't believe in it, that all of a sudden it's fake and that she's pulling the wool over people's eyes, right? So, I mean, I don't know what you believe or what you don't at times, so... Uh-huh. Nicole, don't bother because PBR gets off on the attention when you go against him. It's just easier that way. Let's see what else is out here. Would I pay for it? Yes, I would. Yes, I would. I've blown $100 on a lot of other shit that hasn't been worth it. So what's the difference between if I check it on out for $100 or not? Absolutely. Hey, Vector, thanks for coming on in. We'll see you very soon, man. All right, I am done, guys. Downloads are all done. And I am done. Tomorrow night, Nathaniel Gillis talks demons. And we will be getting into the paranormal side of things tomorrow night. And I really appreciate that. And so I'm going to call it the night because I got to be up for work in the morning. But I want to say thank you for everybody coming on in and hanging on out with us. We'll do it all again tomorrow because we have that ability to do so. Much love to all of you, and thank you for participating in our chat room, and for everybody who's bought t-shirts and everything. We really do appreciate it. We love each and every one.